Oh man, this is Mr. Riggs, Terry Riggs, UK tour guide to the rest of the world, and I'm with my co-host, Mr. Richie. We are in
Welcome, family. We back again, just like I said. Here we are, coming with a little conversation today and a touch base with our USA brothers and sisters. You understand? Because a lot's been going on over the last few days, over the last few weeks. So again, I don't want to have a conversation without having some real-time people who are from and in the drama. So joining us today, we got a couple brothers, one from Philadelphia and one from New York. They'll introduce themselves shortly. But before that, I want to give thanks to our sister Cece and let her introduce herself first, because she was the reason why we came together today to have this discussion. So, Sister Cece, introduce yourself, tell the people a bit about you, and why you called this conversation together.
Okay, so for many of you who probably don't know, for those of you who do also, my name's Cece. I am the founder of an organization called The People Versus. We were established in 2017 and did some work with Black Eyes TV and Terry over in the States and over here. I put on a show for Sarah Sunsetti over here, and shortly after that we went to the States and did some work, interviews and coverage with Sarnetta and loads of other prominent figures in the conscious community in the US. I'm also a freelance journalist, so in my spare time I do a lot of coverage, articles in entertainment and issues that impact our community across the diaspora. So that's who I am, essentially.
Oh man. And we have Brother Minister in the house. Brother Minister, introduce yourself, my brother.
Yes, my brother. I go by the name of Brother Minister from the AWF Nation. I'm a well-known Garveyite in the UK. We've set up an organization in 2006 where we did security for the likes of Astro Crazy at that time and other people that was coming over from the States. We kind of protected them while they were in the UK. Kind of went missing for a while. You know what I mean? I'd had some family, some children. Came back on the scene about 2 years ago. Just trying to organize our people across the globe so we can do for self.
No doubt. All right. So without further ado, first and foremost, we know about the situation that's been going on in America. I don't know, is everyone else hearing that feedback that I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, some sort of squirrely fever. I don't know what that is. Um, yeah, let's start with talking to our brothers on the ground. I mean, first of all, we'll go to Jamal first because I want him to introduce yourself, Jamal. Tell people who you are. Oh, look, he's dropped out. Come back in. Turn your mic up, brother.
Peace, 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 brother Jamal Milton. Can y'all hear me? Yes. Uncle Mayat, coming out straight out of the Shrine of Ma'at, located in Harlem, New York. I'm a priest under the instruction of Jabari Osaze and Anika Osaze. I'm also infinite light being, artist, rapper, singer, extraordinaire, philanthropist, whatever you want to call it. We get it done. Just a soldier in the movement, doing what we got to do to make this knowledge entertaining for the people and attractive for the people, and at the same time putting boots on the ground and putting the work in. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's all. And then my brother George Macon in the house. You there, brother? Can you hear us?
Yeah, man. What's going on, man? George Macon.
Your mic's low.
My mic is low? Oh, shit. Wait a minute. Is that better?
Yeah, that's all. We got you now.
Okay, yeah. Well, most of you guys know me from George Macon channel. Me and brother Black Ice, me and brother Richie. We always covering different topics. I'm here in Philadelphia. He's over there in the UK, and we talk about different things. As far as Black development in the Black community, in the Black family. So that's me in a nutshell.
All right. So first of all, let's go back to Jamal, brother. Tell us a bit about what's been going on in New York, and kind of like let's go back to the coronavirus foolishness, because obviously you're in New York.
Right.
So since the lockdown, what's the situation been leading up to this incident where our brothers being murdered, and then the riots and so on and so forth? Give us an overview of what it's been like in New York.
It's been a major adjustment for New York. I mean, New York is a hustle and bustle city. We kind of rely on being able to connect with people and communicate with people and network and stuff like that. So, when the coronavirus hit, it was a culture shock, for us. We're not in a desolate area. Like, everybody's pretty much right on top of each other. So to have a situation where you have to socially distance yourself at a minimum of 6 feet, it's like, many people got furloughed from their job. Most people that I know got furloughed from their job, couldn't work, couldn't support their families. So it's like Grand Theft Auto, like with 5 stars, like all day long. You know what I'm saying? Like you never know what's gonna happen. Out here is everybody, who's on their last straw and at their wits end. So you just kind of got to take it easy out here, and just be empathetic to everything that's going on, whether you're in the business world or whether you're in the streets. Like it's crunch time. So when it hit for me, I was in the middle of actually my queen was in the middle of giving birth. You know what I'm saying? And I leave to go and check on my child. By the time I came back, it was a whole new set of staff, and they all had masks on and they act like they didn't even know me. You know what I'm saying? Like I just didn't leave the room. So, it was literally just like that. The whole world just changed in an instant and we all just had to adjust. We were forced to adjust. But, one thing about New Yorkers is we're resilient. Like we go through things and, we're tough, we're okay with it. You know what I'm saying? So, for me, because I don't depend on the system as much, it wasn't that much of a culture shock for me. And I was expecting it anyway. I just didn't think it was going to happen that quick. But I knew that it was coming. So for the most part, I was prepared for it, on my personal journey. But collectively, that doesn't mean anything when most of the people around you aren't. You know what I'm saying? So you got to it's still an adjustment in itself. So, leading up to the death of George, it started with the Aubrey case. You know what I'm saying? It started with that situation. But, I wasn't ready to ride for that situation because it seemed like it was too similar to the other things that had happened with brothers who were shot down and killed by white men, or even by policemen. It just I wasn't really fully invested in that one. But when this particular one happened and you see it on video, it's like, you know what, like this one is clear cut and dry. There's no way that they can even okey doke this one or try to bamboozle you to see it from a different perspective. Like if you didn't see this one and feel this one, is something wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? Like no matter what race you are, just as a human being, watching this man slowly be his life taken away, you got to feel that. So, I felt, compelled to take all my resources that I had and make my voice be heard. And with the people that I'm able to galvanize, make something happen and make something work, so seeing the conviction today, it was a breath of fresh air because, as you can see, my voice is, I ain't got no voice from all the protesting and marching and, organizing. Like we really put in work, for this situation to make it happen. And, we just have gratitude for everybody who showed their love and respect for the family and put their resources up and let their voice be heard. Whatever you did, whatever little that you did, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever much that you did, it all mattered. This wasn't a one man thing or one woman thing. This was the whole country coming together and saying, you know what, we tired of this shit, man. Like we good, you know what I'm saying? We good on this, and we were gonna put it into this once and for all. So, that's what it is right now in New York. It's a sensitive matter. Everybody's still a little bit agitated and trying to figure out, okay, so what's next? What we're gonna do next? And we're still, it's that place of uncertainty. But one thing about us, we're comfortable with being uncomfortable. So that's where we are right now in the state of New York.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. My brother George Macon, talk to us. You're in the next major black spot.
Well,
what's been the situation from your perspective?
Philadelphia is not as controlled as New York City is. And Philadelphia is another major city with a lot of black people. I mean, we're talking about an upwards of 800,000 black people. It hasn't been peaceful. It's been very dangerous. Explosions going off everywhere. The curfews, after the curfews, shootouts with cops. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on that's inside the urban areas of the city that's not being reported. But I'll get to that in a minute on why it's not being reported. They're showing the center city marches. They show on video the white marchers where they went onto the highway and the police pushed them into one angle and then they tear gassed them. But if you notice, I did a video the day Sunday. Was it Saturday or Sunday in Luton, and I was right on the Deuce, a place called the Deuce, which is 52nd and Market. But we were on the Chestnut part, and they were shooting rubber bullets and tear gas, at the crowd, and they was actually throwing the tear gas bombs back. So it was a lot of pushback, was a lot of fight with the police. But then they had a curfew, and later on that night, things was just being destroyed everywhere. I posted the videos of the loot and then the aftermath, but what went on during the hours of night, a couple store owners shot people. They set up like little bunkers and stuff and wouldn't let the police get through. I mean, it was just total chaos and mayhem here in Philadelphia. Real dangerous. They actually, somebody was they detonated 15 bombs. I actually got the video that's coming up tomorrow, where they were blowing up ATM machines all over the city and putting them in certain ATM machines inside the banks. So it was a lot, man. They was breaking into gun stores. One guy got killed trying to break into a gun store. It was just, all hell broke loose here. And they're not really showing that part of it because they don't want to put that on America, where they see, you see actual, you actually had these young black guys setting up like little bunkers and wouldn't let the police come through certain areas. They're not showing that on TV. You had to be here to see it. Like, it was literally crazy. And I just did a video saying, okay, after the loot, now what? Because if we unify to loot and to fight against the police, now what we're going to unify for? What comes after this? You know, let the white people protest downtown. We need to have our own march, our own unity, to get things that, you know, that we need done. That we can unify for this, because this organized protests across the country and fighting is bullshit. That's not us. We've been trying to unify Black people across the diaspora forever, and it fell on deaf ears, and we haven't been able to do it. So this is not us. This is at the hands of people that don't have our best interests at heart. So if this was really us, let's see how we can organize now. Let's see if we can organize people now without these movements that stands to benefit from another Black man being murdered, that won't benefit the Black community. So I'm not falling for the bullshit and the okie doke. None of these groups, none of this so-called unification across the country is not, man, I'm not buying it. It's bullshit.
All right, no doubt, no doubt. Well, that takes me to our sister Cece, who called the show, because this was one of the angles that she kind of mentioned. But before that, I mean, Sister Cece, you're here in the UK with me, you know, Brother Minister, Mr. Riggs. What's been your take, you know, from the coronavirus lockdown, how you've dealt with it, how you've perceived it till this incident now, and obviously what you're seeing, and what's kind of bring you to this point of wanting to have this conversation? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, sister. Unmute yourself.
Oh, can you hear me?
There you go. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, I was saying, essentially, I mean, this whole Corona thing was kind of unexpected. I think everyone was kind of in preparation for 2020 to kind of, I guess, be their year, so to speak. You know, year of progression and change and forward thinking and stuff. And so when this whole kind of Corona pandemic arrived, I think it threw a lot of people, and we didn't really know what to do. There were a whole bunch of, you know, conspiracy theories out there, and just opinions, various different opinions from loads of different people about, you know, what Corona is, you know, what the government are doing. Is it, you know, intentional, all kinds of stuff. And it kind of left people in limbo a little bit, and kind of unsettled. Especially, I mean, for me, I guess I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure I speak for many people when I say that, you know, most people were kind of just unsure about how to move, what to do. And even, I guess, the mental implications that it has and effects that it has on people. For me, I've kind of used this time to just kind of reflect on life in general and try to meditate and just appreciate the things that I maybe took for granted before. I guess during the whole Corona thing, I've lost people, and that's definitely affected me. And I think the fact that people have had to kind of self-isolate, you know, a lot of people haven't been able to mourn properly. A lot of people haven't been able to deal with their emotional trauma in a way that they would normally. They can't grieve with other family members. So, you know, it takes a lot on your physical and your mental and your spiritual. And so I guess when this whole, you know, George Floyd situation happened right off of the back of isolation kind of taming down and people becoming more sociable, I think it was just, I mean, for us, this has been happening. So for me, it wasn't anything new. I can't say it was worse than any other occasions where Black people have been, you know, murdered. I think the only difference this time is the fact that people outside of our community are maybe more privy to what's happening. And I also believe that the reaction from everybody globally is partly because of this whole COVID thing, and the fact that people have been isolated, and the fact that people have lost people, and the fact that people are frustrated. I feel like some of that, whether it's, you know, the looting or the protesting, I think a lot of the anger and frustration is partly responsible because of isolation. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's a difficult time, and I guess everybody has their own experience and coping mechanisms. For me, this is, like I said, this isn't anything new. It's another fatality. It angers me just as much as anybody else. But I think the purpose of this meeting specifically for me was to figure out a way whereby we can use our intellect, and instead of acting off of emotion, acting off of intelligence. We're a very emotional people naturally, but I think part of the problem that we face for such a long period of time is the fact that we act off of impulse, and a lot of the time we don't act with logic. We don't galvanize, we don't plan, we don't prepare, we don't communicate, we don't strategize. And so essentially this is the reason why I wanted to have this meeting, because the old methodologies of how we're dealing with these issues are not working. They're not working. For me, protesting, whether it be, you know, silent protests and stuff like that, I commend the people that do it. I understand the frustrations of the people that do it. I, to some extent, support the things that people are doing. But that can't just be it. That can't just be it. And you can't ask your oppressors for freedom. You can't ask your oppressors to stop oppressing you. So we have to figure out, I mean, across the diaspora, we have intelligence all over the place. We are the most intelligent beings on the planet. So to me, it's illogical to think that we can't figure out a way of making some kind of change and impact to ensure that we progress. Something has to be done, and protesting is just not enough. And putting posts of blackouts on Instagram is not enough. That I don't really get it.
Yeah, I would I'll chime in on that. I would say, like, the blackouts on Instagram that's more of a trick than the protests are. I believe that the protests, and I know we have to protest. You have to let your voice be heard, but at the same time, we can't protest the way we protested before. Protesting in 2020 looks way different than it did in the 70s, the 60s, and the 50s. In 2020, we're not afraid to fuck shit up out here. You know what I'm saying? These young bulls, I mean, I was out there and I saw them and I saw the looks in their eyes. They're not scared to fuck some shit up. See what I'm saying? And I think that part of the game is necessary, because in the past, folks were scared to get the police scared. It's like, we blowing these policemen's heads off. We burning down police precincts now. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole different level of protest than it was before. I think that all of it is necessary. And what's happening is we have some people that's focusing on economics, right? We all know we got to practice group economics. That's a given. But it's almost like they subconsciously banging on the people that's protesting. And then the people that's protesting is banging on the people that's spiritualists. The people that's spiritualists is banging on the people that's doing economic reform. They banging on the niggas that's doing, what I'm saying? Like, all of this shit is necessary. You can't rule out none of it. Because I know that for one thing, I ain't never seen 4 officers get convicted in the amount of time that this just happened. I ain't never seen a protest in every single state in America ever. That's including during the civil rights movement. That's including Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. There's never been a time where every single state in America came together and started fucking shit up, like literally burning major cities down. I think that every part that everybody plays in America, black, white, no matter what race you are, because there are some white folks. I know some white folks that'll come through, and I call them right now, and they'll come and they'll bang with a nigga before some dudes that I can call right now that's supposed to be top notch in the conscious community. They won't lace their boots up, but I can call some white folks that will genuinely come out and crack a nigga head, like no joke, straight up, white or black. They'll crack anybody head. You see what I'm saying? So I think everybody got to be real with themselves and say, okay, so what part is it that I play in this? You see what I'm saying? Because when I'm doing music and I'm dropping music, right? When I'm dropping hip hop music with all the conscious intel, they say, well, what are you doing in the streets? And then when I get in the streets, they say, well, how come none of these celebrities is doing anything? Why don't you go and get those? You know what I'm saying? So each individual person has to pull their resources together and say, you know what? This is what I can do. Let's sit down at the table. This is what I can do. You know what I'm saying? And how can we all collectively put this all together and make a bang out plan? Now, I know before this all started, you know, during the year, we did the wake up call here in New York. We brought in Brother Umar Johnson. We brought in Brother Rizza Islam and X, Jamal Abdul Bay. We brought in Atheist, Pop Darby, Red Pill. We brought every single activist from no matter which lane you was in. Okay? And guess what? You know how many people came? Maybe like 50 to 100. See what I'm saying? But when this shit popped off and I said, yo, fuck all of that, we got to go bang some heads now. All of a sudden, people started coming out the woodworks like, yeah. You know why? Because it was time. We tried all the peace talks. We tried sitting down and planning with motherfuckers. Maybe we need to show these niggas how Africans get down and how wild we could really get. And let them know, like, you know what? We're not fucking playing with y'all. Because here's the thing. You can't blow us all up. You can't blow us all up. That's going to leave you with nothing. That's going to leave you with no coal for your engine to even run. So at the end of the day, we know that they need us more than we need them. At the end of the day, if we took this thing over by force, no war ever happened. Nobody ever took over a civilization through paperwork. Nobody. Anytime somebody took something over, they ran up in that shit, tore the shit down, raped the women and children, looted, took whatever they wanted. They did whatever they wanted. That's how black people is going to take this shit back if you're really serious. Now, if you want to play around on the internet, yeah, you're going to be doing this shit all day. If you want to pass around paperwork, you're going to be doing this shit all year. That's what we've been doing. So now we got to do something and say, you know what? I'm good on all of that. I'm good on all of that. Because I know I ain't never seen the reaction from the people. And yeah, it could all be a setup. Who knows? But at least we doing something different than what we was doing before so we could rule this shit out. Has anybody ever tried banging on the police yet? Anybody tried it yet? All right then. So let's move in a direction that we haven't done before. We can't be scared. And the ones who's not scared, you can't try to convince them to be scared. Now this ain't the time for that because you see what's going on. You see what I'm saying? Let them, if a motherfucker got to learn his lesson another way, let him learn. Let them learn because the young bulls, I'm not going to lead the young bulls out there to go and fight this shit by themselves because they going to bang regardless, whether you tell them or not. And they don't respect the older generation because of the generational gap and the shit that we didn't teach them. So they're going to bang regardless. So I know I'm not going to leave my sons out there because my son hits me up like, yo, what's going on? What we trying to do? What should I do, Dad? You know what I'm saying? My daughter hits me up. They 16. What are we going to do, Dad? I'm not letting them go out for dolo because they're going to go regardless. So I'm not going to let them go out for dolo. You know what? I'm going to strap on my boots. At the end of the day, even if I get killed out there, guess what? They're going to say, Daddy was a real motherfucker. He went out there and he did what he was supposed to do as a man, period. And he died fighting. He died on his 2 feet. He didn't kneel. He wasn't asking for shit. When we was crossing that bridge, we wasn't asking for shit. While we was crossing that bridge, you know what we was doing? Tearing shit up. RBG flag waving in the air. We got it documented. RBG flag waving in the air. That Brooklyn Bridge is fucked up right now. It costs the city probably billions of dollars to fix that shit. They gonna come out their pockets, okay? We crossed over that bridge. When we got over that bridge, you should have seen the mob of people that came through, and we did it strategically instead of posting on the internet. Yeah, we're gonna be protesting. Everybody didn't even know we was protesting until we was already halfway across the bridge. And then when we got into New York City, that's when we made the call, like, yo, pull up, and they was there like that, blacks, whites, Puerto Ricans, everybody that was sick of the police, everybody that had ever got banged on was there in a heartbeat. It wasn't black versus white. It was the righteous versus the unrighteous, because people is tired. People is really tired of the police. Bottom line. Some people see it a different way, but I know that you probably didn't get your head cracked by the police. You probably never got your brother or your sister or your mama shot 13, 14 times by the police to where, you know what, you need to get this rage out. You need to go out there and say, you know what, on behalf of my people, I really don't give a fuck today. They done locked you down to the point where you can't even breathe now. You gotta put a mask on. But if, by the time you done, you're not gonna have nothing left. They controlling the water, they controlling the food, and now they controlling the air. At what point do you say, you know what, fuck you and your rules, and if you got anything to say, I'm gonna crack you upside your head, and I'm gonna get some more people that not only look like me, but look like you, to where you're not even gonna know where it's coming from, and we're gonna crack you upside your head. That's how it's gonna work. It's power to the people at the end of the day, not power to the goddamn politicians. That's the way I feel.
I feel you. I feel you. Let me get Brother Minister in there to respond, yeah, and to give his take before I go back to Brother Konsu, who just joined us, Professor Konsu from Manhood Academy. And I definitely want to bring in my brother George Macon, who's another American. I want to get his take. He's slightly older. He's seen some things. So, Brother Minister, you still there? You still with us?
Yes, my brother. I'm still here. You know, I'm just listening to what has been said. I hear what the brother that was speaking before said. He makes some interesting points. Some things I'll just be straight up, and I don't really agree with. No, not in a disrespectful way, but I just don't agree with. I don't think that what we need to be doing here is bringing Europeans or other people into what we're doing, and that's the first mistake we're gonna make, because we can't trust them anyway. So if you're allowing these people to involved in whatever we're doing strategically, it's a suicidal mission you're dealing with, innit? In terms of the smashing down the place, man, yeah, I ain't got a problem with that. And it just make sure it's European businesses we're mashing down. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, I don't think that in history we've been cowards. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think this generation has got more, you know, fire than other generations. I mean, when you look at Nat Turner, when you look at Harriet Tubman, these people have been doing more than what we've been doing as a collective, singly. Do you know what I mean? Harriet Tubman freed over, they say, 600 to 900 slaves. You know, Nat Turner burned down the plantation, killed everything white that was in sight. Do you know what I'm saying? Man, woman, and picnic. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, so, you know, that's to kind of knock that out. In terms of like what we're gonna do now, I mean, I can't really speak on the American situation as we're in the UK, and I don't want to act like I don't know or be disrespectful to their experience, but at the same time, I'm a Garveyite. So for me, the experience is not to where you're located. The experience is it's a racial issue that we have. It's not a personal experience. Like wherever you find black people around the world, we're gonna go through similar experiences, because white supremacy doesn't only exist in America. White supremacy exists wherever there is a white black dynamic. Do you know what I mean? And the whites are always gonna be at the top. And when you look at Black Lives Matters and all of these movements, yeah, that's funded by white people, yeah, I don't think it's gonna get us anywhere. Do you know what I mean? I'm seeing white people put fist in the air, put a black power fist. That shit makes me sick to my stomach, bruv. And sisters, you know what I mean? I can't stand that. You know, and regards to like this being worse, I think the only reason why black people are reacting like this now is because of the isolation, as Sister Cece would say. There's nothing to distract us right now. Normally, you know, somebody gets killed by the police, you know, you get emotional, you go to the rave, you know, or the club, you know, go to work, you know, you kind of escape it. But right now, you can't escape it. It's in your face. Like people can't really see or turn a blind eye to what's right in front of their face, innit? I just think that we're not looking at the real issue, innit? You know, it goes back to what Dr. Khalid Muhammad said with the spider and the spider web analogy. Like we're looking at trying to get rid of spider webs. So when we say police, getting rid of the spider webs, is like the police. If we fight the police, if we beat the police, they're gonna bring in the army. So the police are not the problem. Then we're gonna say the army is the problem. But when are we really gonna take it right back to the decimal point and say it's a people that is this problem? It's not a system. A system is created by a people. Systems change. Do you understand what I'm saying? But these people are not changing. And do we just want to scream no justice, no peace? Is that all we want? No peace? Do we not want self-determination? Do we not want liberation? Do we not want to do for self? Or are we just asking for them not to just beat us, slaughter us on the street no more? What they've been doing for over 500 years. This ain't new.
I feel you.
That's the, you know what I mean? I don't want to. I don't.
Go on. You got something
Okay,
more
bro.
to
It's a
say, brother?
serious. It's a touchy. Yeah, brother. You know, there's so much to say, brother. Because you know, we as a people,
Don't
we
worry,
are hurt, but we're
we're
suffering
gonna do the
for, like I
circuit,
said,
bro.
500 years.
We're gonna do the circuit. I'm gonna bring him round. Now, let me bring in brother Konsu quickly, and then I want to go back to George Macon, and I want to hear his response, and then we're gonna come back to CC.
Yes. Greetings, kings and queen, and blessed to Sister C for putting the call out. Long time no see, C. Good to see you. Yeah, first and foremost, I just want to say, from my humble opinion, we are experiencing a natural progression of a society in decline, and we're experiencing it in real time. All right, all the signs are there, whether you believe in prophecy or you believe in conspiracy, fact or theory. You know, the sequence of events that have happened this year, which was everyone was gassed up for this year. You know, it's like 2020, man, the year of clear vision. All right, and the question is, why was a cog put into that wheel? You know, everyone I know was saying, yeah, this is the year, man. So, you know, someone's going hard to sabotage this year as far as I'm concerned. Someone's going hard. We can put names on who that is. Maybe it's not a person, maybe it's an entity, maybe it's an energy. But something just ain't right, you know? I mean, okay, let's put a soup together now. Let's put a soup together. If you put in the mix of the pot, all right, the experience, the global experience via a snuff video of hyper violent murder viewed in real time. All right, a worldwide quarantine with an unnatural isolation globally, mass fear. All right, via a global pandemic. And if you combine that with the injustices that we've been experiencing in terms of you know, racial profiling, etc., and add into the soup a collective heightened emotion and anger collectively of humanity. All right, we throw into that little soup also. We see the posturing. We just saw the posturing of the Boogaloo militia, right? In the US. What is that about? What is that posturing about? All right. It's just a bad combination. It's just a bad combination. And my twist on what's happened, keep in mind, we've all forgotten about coronavirus, right? What happened about peeping at your door and putting your mask on and making sure it's all, that's done. I mean, it's still there, but collectively, we've forgotten about it. It's not the priority. All right. So, is this predictive programming? Are we being bamboozled? Are the reactions predictive or predicted or created? We can go into those theories all night long, but some just ain't right. But from a UK perspective, I just want to say 2 words, and it's a name, and I think it's the man of the year so far. All right, and that is John Boyega. Now, personally, I would say in the UK, we're waiting for the celebrities to kind of, you know, peep their head out and say, yeah, man, we stand. We're waiting for the Jay-Z's and the P. Diddy's, etc. We're still waiting, but it's very interesting. The celebrity who spoke out and said, you know what, I don't care about my career, I don't care about the money, I am going to speak out, is John Boyega, the Star Wars star, the young man, the young black man. And if you haven't seen it in the US, just Google his name. and you will see how we rallied the masses in London today in terms of speaking up. So yeah, I just think that we're in interesting times, you know, and let's just see how it all played out, how it all plays out. It's kind of like we're in the age of reality TV. In the US, we've got a Twitter president, and yeah, we're in the digital generation. And I just think it's quite interesting how this generation is mobilizing, and I think it's quite slick. And I don't think it has reached the level of sophistication as yet. But how are the masses rallying? They're rallying through smartphones, you know, the social media, etc., etc. And that just seems like it's going to be the new way forward. When we get a bit more sophisticated with it, I don't really advocate violence. I just think it's just a predictive reaction to things. It may be necessary. I think shouting at the top of your voice to be heard is necessary. I'm not sure about the violent part, but I do think with a mass collective, you know, voice, that we can bring change around in this new world of technology, you know?
All right. Macon, where you at, son? Yeah, because again, you're American, you're in another city, you're older, you've seen a few things. I know you was listening to what Jabal was saying. What's your take before we go back to the sister Cece to respond to everything that she's been hearing?
All right, first thing, I come from the city of Philadelphia where they dropped a bomb in 1985. They dropped a bomb on a radical crew called the Move and blew up 3 city blocks, killed 11 people. And we had a black mayor, district attorney, Lynn Abraham. And what the heck was his name? He went to become the governor. These are all white people. No, and Satterbaum, he was the police commissioner at the time. Dropped the bomb. 1977, that same radical group had a shootout with the police because of their radical, unapologetically African views. I mean, I'm from a city where Rizzo was the mayor. He was that is the most corrupt police commissioner in the country at the time in the 70s. White people was all downtown the other day trying to burn his statue down. They actually just took it down. But this, you know, there's always been racial tension here in this city. Last year, you had a black guy that had confrontation with the cops, and he shot 6 cops. They went nationwide. This city has always been a powder keg. We don't have no black. We really don't have any white friends. Let me just say this to black people, man, because we've been conditioned since we've been under their foot to all white people got to do is say something nice to us. And we say, see, they changed their ways. Let me tell all y'all something, man.
Come on, my brother, talk the thing, man.
White people haven't done anything to prove themselves to us to show that they're worthy of our belief or trust. I told white people as I'm walking the street during the riots on video, and people that follow my content see, what are you here for? What are you marching for us for? Are you willing to be ostracized from your own people, from white infrastructure on the behalf of black people? Are you willing to lose your life? Are you willing to be cut off from jobs for siding with black people for reparations? See, you say Black Lives Matter. I ain't on that. What about reparations matter? Are you willing to go protest to your own people without us being there to get policy changes? Racism is not a black problem, it's a white people problem. It's something that you created. So you have to vote. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're here protesting, acting like you're protesting for black people so you can get money allocated to your nonprofits to say that you're helping black people. So all the looting, right? The young kids is looting. The question I have is, if these black protesters, who's speaking on behalf of black people right now for policy? Who are these people? You see the same people every time something happens, but nothing gets passed. I'm asking the question. Our problem is not just white folk. Our problem is black people in suits that we trust to get things done for us that have failed time after time after time. But you know what the black community does? We're afraid to call out our black caucus. We're afraid to call out our black church. We're afraid, you know what we should do? I talked about this as they open up June 5th. We should protest. I said Philadelphia, 200,000 strong black youth should protest outside the churches on Sunday and let nobody enter it. We should protest outside the city hall and let all the white politicians in, but don't let none of the black politicians in. Y'all owe us an explanation. See, because it's easy to blame us when we tearing shit up. But nobody ever talks about the failures of the elders in the suits that we trust to get things done. The question I have to ask, because we always say there's a lot of white people watching with us. Who is giving white people? I really need somebody to answer this for me. We got a lot of smart people on this panel. How is it that white people is able to govern over black people when we sit here and talk about white supremacy and the historical racism? How can a white person be my son's school teacher? How can a white person be the police officer in the black community? Knowing psychologically they never had any evaluations. They've been conditioned to see you a certain way. But you know what black people allow? We allow them to govern over us. And then when something bad happens, you know what we do? We scream white supremacy. See, they want you to change, but we sit here and we allow whites to govern us, knowing that white people are not psychologically fit to govern black people. There should be no white, listen, it should be with the history that we know here in the diaspora. Anything that happens to a black person at the hands of a white person should be a federal hate crime, because I never know. That could be racist. If he pushed me on the ground, he did it with racist intent. But you know what we do? Because we always been subordinate to white people. They provide our food, shelter, and clothing. We always make an excuse for them. We always try to find a way to smooth it over. What are we going to do without these stores? What are we going to do without our supermarkets? Oh my God, what are we going to do? Man, let me tell you something. They make billions of dollars in the black community every day. They haven't put a dime in none of those schools. They come here and make the American dream, the Chinese. When have the Chinese put a dime back into the black community? We send their kids to the best schools in America. We made it so they can have their own banks. We made it so they can have their own casinos inside the casinos in Atlantic City and in Las Vegas off the black dollar. But yet and still, when George Floyd was being murdered, I seen a goddamn Asian standing guard, while at the same time they screaming racism in America and beating up Africans in China. The hell with them. The hell with them and white folks until they prove themselves. Show me that you're willing to lose everything on the behalf of black people. If not, I'm not trying to hear none of that. Man, we done fought. I come from a city where they was dropping bombs and shooting out with the cops as a kid growing up, and here in the city of Philadelphia. And anybody from Philadelphia, Harlem would know the Black Liberation Armies and all the stuff that was going on, the murders that the cops was doing and brothers fighting back. Some of us never knew our fathers because of this stuff that was going on. Mumia Abu Jamal, this is my city. So this city is a powder keg, but I'm asking, 3 days, the city was on fire. But who are the black people that's speaking on behalf of the black community? Can we trust them? Do we even know who they are? Huh? See, what we need to be doing is now mobilizing the youth and having them speak and begin to teach them. See, because the world is watching now. The ancestors opened up the door. They're waiting for us to speak. Them old Negroes in suits, they got to get out the way. In the UK and America, all through the Caribbean, they got to move. But if you ain't willing to move them, then we deserve everything that we get. If we ain't, the ancestors is watching. The ancestors done open up the pathway. Everybody's waiting for us to take a stand. We stood up to loot. We stood up to shoot. Now what we gonna do? Now it's time to put the footwork in. But don't sit there just because a white person came and walked down the street with you and said, hey, Hakeem, everything's gonna be all right. I'm telling him, look, pass over there and talk to your own people. I meet you around. I meet you around the corner. Once we get all the way around in the 360, I'll meet you then. I don't need you over here right now. Because when my people see you, they start acting funny because we suffer from crackatosis. We get around white people, we start acting funny because we haven't been decolonized yet in our minds. So we got to learn how to do this stuff on our own, independent of them. Until that is all a wash.
All right. Listen, Cece, I'll mute your mic. What's your response to everything you've heard? Obviously, you know about us here, but to our brothers, before I bring Jamal back in to respond to that.
Oh, there was so much said by everyone, and so many valid points. Where do I begin? Okay, touching on some of the points that brother minister spoke on, and also George. You know, for me, I'm of the opinion that this is an issue that affects Black people, and we are in a situation, in a very dire situation, and in a situation that is uncomparable to any other race. I cannot, I'm not comfortable with standing beside a white protester. I'm not comfortable with the inclusion of other people, trying to, in my opinion, almost pretend to care about issues that affect us directly as Black people. Yeah. There may be white people that, you know, find issues with police brutality and racism to some extent, but they're not Black, so they will never be able to fully identify with our experience. They will never be able to fully identify with all of the atrocities that we've had to endure for decades and decades and decades. And so for me, as brother minister said, I'm not really down for the inclusion, and I feel like as Black people, this is part of the reason why we're in the situation that we're in. We're too inclusive, we're too giving, we're too inviting. And when you look at other communities, whether it be the Jewish community, Asian community, or whoever else, they're celebrated for keeping their currency and their culture within their circle. They're celebrated for that. You know, they're respected for that. But the minute that we speak about being, you know, unapologetically African, or, you know, we believe in only dating within our race, and we're criticized for that. And so I feel like we kind of cater to white people's needs and desires, and in order to make them feel comfortable. I'm not really with that. And so a lot of these protesters who are people that are not Black, who are not African, like I said, I'm not convinced that they're really for the cause wholeheartedly. If you're for the cause, donate a percentage of your salary to Black people in forms of reparations. You know, show us. Don't just stand out and protest and pump your fist and say Black Lives Matter. That doesn't do anything for us. You're just a body. Yeah, if you're really talking about making a change and helping Black people progress, whether it be economically, socially, politically, however, put some money into our communities then. Put your life on the line. Be ready to die for us then. Until these people show that they're worthy, like George says, I'm not really with it. I'm not for it. I'm not interested. I'm not interested at all. Brother Konsu made a valid point, which is basically I put a post on my Instagram about John Boyega, and even before the whole John Boyega thing, I put a post out about the need for these Black public figures to be present. Where are they? The Diddy's, Beyonce's, whoever, Jay-Z's, the list goes on. Where are they? They're making posts, they're putting, you know, blackout posts, they're doing their little 50 seconds of speaking about, you know, George Floyd and all that. Wonderful. Round of applause. Where are you? Where are you in the streets? Where are you? Why are you not galvanizing? Why are you not meeting up with your peers and finding a way of strategizing? Why are you not collectively coming up with ways to affect change? Why is it just what your voice we're hearing? Why is it just with your fingers that we're seeing on Instagram? Where is the real action? Which is why I have so much respect for somebody like John Boyega, because he's a young British black man who has been able to obtain almost overnight success as a celebrity, as an actor. He is a part of, I'd say, Black Hollywood. He's a very prominent Hollywood actor, and he has, you know, he's prepared to put his career and his profession on the line for a cause that is worthy, for a cause that directly affects him and his people. He's prioritizing that over everything else. And for me, that is what real change is. That's warrior class. They're the kind of people that we need. We don't need internet troopers. We don't need all of these people that are just going to talk behind the screen or just go out and protest on these silent campaigns or whatever. We need people that are actually going to take action. He's someone that has put his neck on the line. He even said, I may not have a career after that. He doesn't care. He doesn't care, because the lives of Black people are more important to him. And he's prepared to sacrifice his roles and his jobs and his finances for that cause. How many people are doing that? So and whether it's white people or Black people, I don't really care about the talking. I don't care about getting up at 9 a.m. in the morning with your rucksack and your placard and your big sign to say Black Lives Matter and all of that. Like, that's, to me, that's gimmicky. Like, I get it, but where's the real change? Like, what are you actually doing? Like, what are you actually doing? I don't want to, and I've purposely not gone and protested, and that, like, each to their own. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. But someone like John Boyega, he has a massive following. He's very influential. He caters to the younger demographic, and he's able to use his platform and his status to evoke change. There's not that many people out there doing stuff like that.
I feel you. I hear you. Listen, something's going on here, yeah? There's like 60 people almost watching, yeah? And there's only 30 likes. Fix up, people, yeah? Smash that like button, yeah?
Right.
Come on. Support the team.
Yep, right down.
And listen, Jamal, you're going to come in next and respond to some of the things you've heard. And after Jamal speaks here, to move time along, if people have a point, just unmute your mic and chime in with whatever you've got to say so we can keep it moving. I don't want to keep picking and choosing, because people might have thoughts that come to their head. What was you going to say, Cece?
Can I say something very quickly? Yeah. I'm going to
Go
speak
ahead.
specifically about us in Britain. Yeah. So we obviously, our community is quite small. Yeah, it's a small network, and the people in our community that have kind of helped move us forward, a lot of them are the elders. Some of the elders, obviously one of our elders, one of our most prominent elders, Brother Dougie, unfortunately passed away, RIP. People like him were pillars of our community. People like him were people that really created opportunities for like-minded Black individuals. He opened the door for younger people to come through with their opinions, their ideologies, and their projects or whatever, to help move us forward. And somewhere along the line, there's been a shortage now. I feel like the elders that we have are the elders. Like, there's no there's no passing of the baton. I feel like there used to be mentors, there used to be programs put in place. I know you have things like Manhood Academy and stuff like that, which is great. These are great initiatives. I honestly believe that some of the prominent figures in our community who are maybe older than I am, I'm in my early 30s, right? So older than I am, I think need to take more of a responsibility in being active and prominent in the community. For me, I have to respect people like Brother Minister and some of the other people in our age group that are doing things for the community. I honestly can't say that there are a lot of elders that I had around me to help me along this way. I've had to kind of find this path. And I think there needs to be more of a responsibility. And I think there needs to be, it's not just about leaving it now to us to move it forward. It requires like a collective effort. And people like me and Brother Minister and other people in the community, the things that we're doing, and I hope he doesn't mind if I speak for him, but I feel like this is what he would say anyway. Some of the stuff that we're doing is for the next generation. Like, the things that we're doing is not for our benefit, it's for the next generation. I don't want my child to grow up and have to be dealing with the same shit that we're seeing now, the same shit that we saw 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago. You know, it's like there needs to be a collective effort. Like, no one has done enough to just say, okay, well, this is, I've done what I've done now. It doesn't stop until you're dead. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there are a lot of people that have become quite complacent, and I don't just mean elders. I feel like it's across the board. People have become very complacent. I think people are very fearful of repercussions, and I think it's time to remove those fears. It's time to acknowledge your complacency and understand that your complacency doesn't work for you and doesn't work for the collective. And we have to be brave enough to step outside of our comfort zone in order for things to change.
All right, no doubt, Jamal. I know you've been waiting to speak, and then we got another brother from America joining us, a brother Konsu. So he'll come on after our brother Jamal has responded. Go to brother.
Yes, sir. I mean, as you all know, I'm from New York, right? And New York is like, it's a melting pot of culture. It's like the mecca of the world when it comes to culture. When New York drops something, everybody gonna know about it, and most likely most people gonna follow suit. And what we gotta realize is that we playing chess, not checkers. Okay, we talking about infiltrating an establishment that wasn't built for us, right? But then we also talking about not dealing with the people that actually built it, which is white people. That is an impossibility. You cannot infiltrate America if you don't have white friends. It's not gonna happen. If you don't have somebody sneaking you in the back door, it's just like when you trying to get in the club. Who this guy? Who this guy? Oh, he ain't come with no women neither. You think we're gonna let him in here for free? Well, who does he know in here? Yo, my man, let me make a call real quick. You call your man, that's how you get in the club. If you want to take over the politicians, I hear him say, yeah, well, what are all the politicians, where all the leaders? How you gonna do that without politicking? Huh? How you gonna do that without talking to the white man? It ain't gonna happen unless you want to crack a head. Oh, but you don't want to crack a head, right? So you gotta pick a struggle. Either you're gonna deal with this motherfucker and infiltrate the system and take it over, like you doing your job, where you work your way up and then you hire all your black friends, or you're gonna start your own business. Now here's the problem. They say, oh yeah, they want to help us, give us reparations. What the fuck that's gonna do when your black dollar stays in your community for 6 minutes? Because y'all go to y'all leave the black community and y'all spend your money. Statistically today, the black dollar stays in our community for 6 minutes. You go right to the mall, you buy you some Jordans or whatever else they make in the day. Or you buy you some weed, whatever your vice is. That's a fact statistically. It don't stay in our community. So now, because I'm from New York, I don't also It's not even a black and white thing because next door to me, I got Spanish people. I got mulattoes across the street. They half white and half black. They don't even know which where they want to go. We got West Indians who think they black, but then sometimes they act like they from a whole different, another outer space somewhere, okay? And they have some European ways about them too. So we have all these different mentalities and ideologies, and you got religion that's in play, okay? Where people believe one thing and go another way. So if we really gonna deal with this, we gotta deal with this with the actual facts of what's going on. It's not just black and white. There's all, some of y'all got white blood in you. Some of y'all got parents and grandparents who got white blood in them. Actual fact. Some of y'all aren't dealing with the time frame that we're actually in. The time frame that we're actually in is not just as clean as white and black. People have all different things going on inside of them. And we got to deal with all of those things. You can't just say it's black and white because it's way too more in depth now. So if you're going to deal with the corporate system, you're going to have to, I don't know if any of y'all watch House of Cards. You're going to have to play the game. You're going to have to rub elbows with white people. If you might even have to take a picture and people going to judge you on it. They're going to say, oh, look at him. Take it. You don't know what this guy's relationship is with this white guy. You don't know what they're doing. Okay? You have to, if you're going to deal with America and try to take it over, there's no way you're going to do it without dealing with white people at some shape, form, or fashion. It's just impossible unless you start your own government. And the majority of y'all don't even know how to govern a government. This is why we're saying, where's our leaders? Because you're looking for a leader. Instead of making you the leader yourself and saying, I'm the leader of my own government, I'm sovereign. I don't have to go to the white man. I don't work for the white man. I can produce my own dollar. Okay? Because even here in America, in Atlanta, they got what they call the black dollar system, where they're actually making their own currency, and you can spend it with black businesses. You see what I'm saying? So there's ways to do this, but you're not going to be able to do this if you, at the same time, asking for them to give you money in reparations. It's like, okay, we hate the white man, but your pockets is filled with white dollars, with dollars with their face on it. That don't make no sense to me, because you're always going to be on the bottom face of the totem pole if you're dealing with them.
My brother, can I ask you something?
Your boys, just say you want to walk side by side with other people, man. Just get it over with and say it. We hear you. Just say you want to walk side by side.
What? He the dick, nigga. He the dick.
Whatever, man. Just say it, dude. Just say it.
So first off, if you're dealing with
easy, lads.
You're not gonna disrespect me. Fuck boy. You're not gonna disrespect me on this line. Because I'm not the one for it. I'm not the one for it. Listen. You're 30 minutes away. Don't fucking play with me.
Hey, guys.
My brother, can I just ask, I wanted to ask you a question, but that's why I interjected.
Get my time is what you're gonna let me do. That's what you're gonna let me get my time.
Man got argument for us, but no argument for the white man.
Fuck nigga.
You don't take that to the white man.
Don't cut me off. Don't cut me off. So now,
George,
dealing with the government. If you're dealing with the government, if you're dealing with the government, which is filled with all white people.
Hold on. Listen. We gotta keep the order here, yeah. Everyone has to keep the order there. Let the brother finish his point. Hold up, George.
I ain't saying nothing.
Let the brother finish his point. Let the brother finish. Listen, Jamal.
Don't try me, son. I'm not the one for it. I'm not the one for it. Just let them know.
Yo. Hey, guys.
I see you got some nigga in you.
All right. Yeah, I'm more nigga than you.
Towards your
guys,
I know what I'm doing.
Guys,
so now,
are you not gonna mash up the build, or are you gonna listen to your brother?
I wonder if you take that to the white man.
He's gonna listen. He's gonna listen to what I gotta say.
Yeah, let Jamal finish what he's got to say. Yeah, then I want Konsu to come in and introduce himself and say what he's got to say. Yeah. Then George, you can go in. And
here's the thing. A person that's actually infiltrated the system, that's actually infiltrated the system in the hip hop world and in some senses politics, you got a problem with. But when you dealing with the white man, you're not gonna do that shit to him. You're not gonna bang on him. You're gonna say, "Where's my leader? I need a leader." Give a fuck about a leader. You the fucking leader, nigga. You go in there and you learn how to speak their language and you learn how to bamboozle the niggas that you fucking with. That's how you do it. So now, if we're talking about all the different things that y'all asking for, How you going to get it? Because you're not saying I'm going to take it because you're scared. I said, let's go bust a head. You said, nah, we're not going to do that. We don't want to do that. We don't want to be violent. So that means now you got to talk to a nigga. If you ain't going to bust his head and take it, that means you got to talk to him, right? It's only one of the two. You got to pick a struggle. So now, but you don't want to talk to him. You don't want to, so what are you going to do? How are you going to set up your own infrastructure? You got to be able to deal with black people. You can't do that by arguing with black people. You got to deal with black people as it is. But if you can't mobilize and you looking for a leader to do it, it ain't going to happen. See, y'all got to realize that at the end of the day, even the white people, no matter which race you're talking about, we was the first ones here. No matter which race you're talking about, they came from us. So you telling me you can't train your children? You telling me you can't walk in there and put the same spell on them as they put on you? You mean to tell me that they smarter than you? Y'all giving these niggas way too much credit. Way too much credit. And you act like you scared of them. That's what it is. I could stand next to a white person and I don't feel nothing, nigga, because it's like standing next to a fucking ant. And they feel the same shit. When they see me walk in the room, they know. They got to watch what the fuck they say, because I might check you on it. The same way I'll check a nigga, too. Because some niggas be shook, and they be talking a lot of shit about white people. But when they walk in the room, they head bow. They head bow. They don't bang on them the same way that they bang on their brother. And I got a problem with that shit. You see what I'm saying? And now we talking about the artists. Let's talk about the artists. They say, where's the artist? Where's the artist? I got these niggas in my phone. The people that you talking about on Saturday, Jay-Z, Meek Mill, I got these niggas in my phone and we all meeting up on Saturday. We all meeting up on Saturday, and we're going to be doing another protest in New York City with the same people that y'all talking about. So because y'all not connected and you don't know what's going on, you assume that nothing is being done. I made that mistake with the Nation of Islam at one time when I was talking to some of my brothers, and I said, "Yo, what's the work y'all doing?" Because
hold up, Jamal, 1 second. Sister Cece, I know you were saying something. Say what you need to say.
No, let me finish, B. Let me finish. They got their time. Let me close.
Hold up, brother. Hold on. Because it needs to come down a notch. It needs to come down a notch, yeah.
No, it don't.
And I
don't.
get your responding. I get your responding directly to George, yeah.
I'm out here.
I know. I feel you. And we're gonna do the round. Cece, what was you gonna say?
I'm just trying to figure out why people are angry right now. I don't get it. What happened?
Well, to me, this is symptomatic of what's going on right now. This is the pressure keg, the powder keg that we find ourselves on, innit? You got two brothers from two major cities, yeah, talking about a situation that they're in. You understand? So there's gonna be differences. They're both two different age groups. So again, I expect there to be fundamental differences in their experiences and what they're seeing and how they're going to express themselves. But at this point, Jamal, I am going to come back to you, but let me bring in Brother Konsu and ask Brother Konsu.
Sorry, 1 minute.
Oh, go to.
I have to say this. I have to say this. No disrespect to Konsu the God. I just need to say one thing, yeah? You see, when you have a situation like this, where we're having a conversation called the Dialects of Liberation, yeah? The whole point of this type of dialogue is to create solutions. All this bullshit that's happening now with arguing and people calling people out their names and all that shit, it's counterproductive, yeah? Everybody's grown on this platform. And so for me, this kind of just reaffirms why we're in the situation that we're in. Black people can't get their shit together. Everyone can have differences of opinions. Our experiences are different. Our opinions are different. It's different. We have different opinions. That's okay. We're human. That's okay. But you see how you articulate yourself? That's something different, yeah? The fact that there's no respect levels, that's the next thing. The fact that you don't want to be talking over each other, calling each other outside of their name, that's a whole nother thing altogether. White people are laughing at you right now. I
don't care what white people think. How about
I'm
that?
not talking. Listen.
Here's the thing. I got cut off, right? I got cut off, but there's no sympathy for me when I get cut off, right? But everybody that's
the point I'm making.
Let me rock.
The point I'm making, yeah, is it's
brother,
okay.
Listen, I'm gonna let you go.
Let me rock. Everybody got the rock except for when it was time for me to rock. I'm not feeling it.
Brother, I'm gonna let you go in and finish off what you gotta say, but the sister's making a good point, because again, I didn't set the rules. I didn't think I would need to tell everybody these levels of respect.
Yeah,
and there's no need for the cussing.
Mike, and let me rock. Mute that man, Mike, and let me rock.
Brother.
Because in order for it, listen, it's not going to be just a statement you say to clear this up. You got to let me rock. Let me rock.
No, bro. And I'm telling you, you're going to get to rock. Yeah, you will get to rock. But again, we've kept it orderly. Like, I've kept it moving neatly, yeah?
It was
my brother jumped in, Macon. My brother jumped in and disturbed your build.
Right.
I understand that. That's why I defended your corner.
That.
No, listen. That's why I defended your corner. But once everybody starts shouting and going into each other, then it gets silly. And then we don't get nothing sorted. You understand? So, brother, listen, this is what I'm going to do to compromise. Yeah, because I really want to make Konsu speak as another black person from America in another city. Yeah. So finish what you're saying, brother. Yeah. Finish what you're saying, Jamal. And then we're going to go to Konsu. Yeah. So go through, brother. Finish up your point.
Right? I sat here patiently and I watched like four people just go, right? And I made a list of everything that I was going to address.
Brother, you're in.
Like they said, right? So now I'm addressing everything that everybody said in order. You see what I'm saying? So homeboy jumped in because when I said pull him up, and now he wanna try and talk over me, but y'all want to let me rock. Let me rock, all right? So let me rock. So boom. There's another part of this that's called the esoteric part of this, where there's things that's unseen, where there's a work that's being done by what we call the Ka, or what some people might call the Akashic Records. In Kemet, we call it the Ka. That's the information that everybody can tap into, and it's not just subject to even black people, it's subject to all beings on the planet. Anybody can tap into this, okay? Then we have the Ba, which is the individual soul, okay? And a lot of people look over this part of the game. The part of the game where people read energy. You can read how somebody's moving. You can read through subs. You can read through lines, through what people say and how they're moving out. And the reason why I'm a musician is because it's a universal language that can move crowds. It don't matter where they come from. I speak that language and I speak it fluently. It's called frequency or your vibration. See what I'm saying? So I could peep somebody's vibration from a long way. If we're talking about celebrities, just dealing with that. If we're talking about celebrities, right? Celebrities or whatever they're doing, if they're an actor, let them act. Stop looking for an actor to be a politician. Stop looking for Tiger Woods to show you how to liberate yourself from America. Stop looking for LeBron James to lead you to the promised land. You see, why don't you go to the people that actually are saying they can do what they can do instead of looking to celebrities? Now, when I pull in celebrities, it's for influence because I'm doing what they're doing. He raps, I rap, so I'm going to pull in the rappers because we speak the same language. If you a regular ass nigga and you trying to pull a celebrity in to do something, you speaking a language that they don't even want to rock with you. Okay? They're in their own world. You have to understand the type of world that they're in. As far as the elders, the part when she talked about the elders, I know I'm in touch with my elder. But before I even came on, I made sure I addressed where I come from. I said, I'm from the Shrine of Ma'at. I said, I deal with Jabari Osaze and Aniko Saze. Those are my elders. Those are ones who brought me in the fold. But at the same time, the elders schooled me on the fact that, you know what? You a young bull. You the young soldier. So it ain't going to be, I'm not going to act like an elder. I'm going to act like a young bull. I'm going to act like one that has to go to war. If I got to go to war, I'm going to war. And that means sometimes I got to rub elbows with people I might not necessarily want to rub elbows with just to help liberate my people and bring them to the next part. Because if you don't control the intel, if you don't control the land that you're talking about, if you don't control the monetary system, if you don't control the judicial system, you have to be able to talk to people in order to get in there. And guess what? Everybody that's holding you back might not necessarily be white. Some of them look like you. Some of them look like you. You can't get in the doors that I can get into because you might be too militant for the situation. They're gonna look at you and say, you don't know how to even shape shift. This is a battle of spirits. It's a battle of energies and vibrations, and you got to be able to maneuver all of them shits in order to get to where you're trying to go. Otherwise, you won't make it to where you're trying to make it. It's just not gonna happen. If you living in New York, you understand what I'm saying, because you could be a blood, and right next door you got a Crip next door. Right next door, across the street you got a Latin King. Down the block you got Vice Lords. See what I'm saying? And they all living on the same street. So you can't be out here on some rah-rah shit. Because guess what? It's gonna be the demise of whatever movement you're trying to do. So you gotta play this shit strategic. This is not chess. This is not checkers. This is chess, and that's the reason why we losing now, because we're quickly to bang on somebody that's actually doing something and moving for you, before we actually go straight to the horse's mouth, straight to the source of the problem, and bang on them. That's how I see it. Now y'all could go ahead and say what y'all want.
Yo, before you come in, brother Richie, it was me that cutted you, brother Jamal. I thought that brother Richie said that it was an open platform, and if you wanted to say something, anybody could jump in. So forgive me, I don't want you to take out anything on brother George, because it was actually me that interrupted you, but I thought it was a free panel at that point.
Nope.
So apologies for that, my brother.
Disrespect. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like, you know what I'm saying, if somebody's going to be speaking and you're going to give them that platform, give them that time, that's the way we move. If that's the rules, let people say what they got to say so they can get their point across without any other influence, because my voice is just as powerful as anybody else's, I feel. And I feel that your voice is just as powerful as anybody else's. So I'm not going to
100%.
say respect. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I thought it was an open platform, because he did say that. So it was me that came in and cut. So that we cleared it up anyway.
We are going to do the
up the discrepancies. No,
we are going to do the open mic thing, but everybody had to get their.
Hit that like button, man. We giving y'all a nice show.
Konsu, brother Konsu. Now, this is who I need to hear from, brother Konsu.
Peace. What's going on, man? How you doing, man? How's everything going with you?
Yo, can you hear me?
What's up, Konsu?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, brother Konsu. Tell the people where you're from, where you.
Yeah, I'm from Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. Been involved in finance. I'm one of the only Black-owned financier companies in the United States, actually. Black economist. Been doing this for the better part of 25 years. This year I was fortunate to make 50 years old. Where I come from, in my neighborhood, west side of Chicago, the lifespan of a Black man is 19 years old. You're very fortunate if you make it to 25. I made it to 50. As far as knowledge and stuff like that, I hold a master's in theology and a doctorate in Egyptology. Founded one of the original African Masonic lodges in the Chicago, Illinois, and in the country. Been dealing with these sciences and have mentored people all over the world. Now I'm saying all these accolades because they mean nothing. These are things that we use to enhance our personalities. I've been a person of influence for a few years, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. This situation is an unfortunate situation. I'm an African spiritualist. I'm a Babalawo in Ifa and Epaletto in Palomayani. So I am a spiritualist, and I do believe in spirit. I do believe spirit guides each and every one of us. This situation that happened, first I say Mojuba and Ashe to those who have lost their lives to violence, especially under oppression and racial subjugation. It is a fall from grace that us as humanity have lost the ability to nurture and care for one another. Secondly, I do give honor and respect to the youth, the young, beautiful Black people that have had enough. I appreciate you. I give much love to you. And I want you to continue to tear this motherfucker up. Tear it all the way up. Burn it all the way down. And don't stop.
Thank you.
Because it's time. I've been very fortunate to live for 50 years and see things change dramatically. And it's time for the youth to lead us and guide us. I am not so egotistical to believe that because I am 50 years old, I cannot take a back seat to my young lions and my young goddesses. It is time. All I can do is support and consult my young people. and be there for them for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I am not a friend of the European, nor will I ever be. I can respect the European for their capability to destroy nature, but I do not honor them. I do not have honor, but I will respect all human beings on the planet. That is our responsibility. However, because I am African-based, my knowledge is based on the Egun. And I am here to protect the Egungun, which are my ancestors, because I have the gift of life and the gift of breath. And as long as I am breathing, I will protect my African heritage at all costs. Every African global has the right to protect their lineage. If you notice, all other ethnic groups, they hold on to their lineage. We are at a point in time where this world is no longer what it used to be. Revolution must be done with bloodshed. There is no other way around it, because nature is destruction. In order for nature to move forward, there must be destruction. This is a normal process in nature, and we as human beings are evolving. And I'm so appreciative that my brother did this stream. I've been talking to a lot of people about this. This is a lot deeper than black and white. This is a question of humanity. As beautiful black people, it's time to stand and draw the line. And it's time to be uncomfortable and be willing to be put in an uncomfortable situation. That's the only way you're going to elevate yourself, is to be placed in an uncomfortable paradigm. We are too convenient in the United States. I cannot speak over the entire world, but black people have a convenience here. And it's time that we become uncomfortably comfortable. It's time that we hold people accountable for the mistreating of our people and our youth. As an elder, it's my responsibility. I have 3 sons and a grandson, so I have 4 generations beneath me that have the responsibility to perpetuate my name. And being a king and a father, that is my responsibility to perpetuate that. My message to black men is that be wise, be tempered, and be violent. It's a time for it. There's a time and place for everything. Being too passive can also be egotistical. Sometimes you apply pressure where needed. And this is very important, and this is vital. Because the European right now, in this day and time, does not value our history. And that is unforgivable. To take the life of a black man, knowing that being filmed, shows an absolute disrespect to the lineage of African people. And we cannot allow this. And I'm so happy. I am so fortunate to experience this. And I hope that we produce more and more violence. This economic warfare that we are in, we are fighting over fiat currency that does not exist. We're asking to fight for money that does not exist. The US dollar is only worth 23 cents per capita. We are constantly printing money in a government that wants to hyperinflate money. The second stimulus that we're so much so waiting on in the Americas is based on the fact that you spend it. They're going to issue a debit card that forces you to spend the money. 72.5% of our GDP is expenditure. As black people, we consume $1.7 billion globally, and we produce less than 0.5% of what we consume. If we are going to be revolutionaries, we need to burn shit down, and we need to build and manufacture shit. And we need to be racial about it, and we need to be biased, because we need to produce what belongs to us. I do not want white people to help me. If you want to do me a favor, go burn your neighbor's door down. Go burn your neighborhood up. Let us handle ours. We'll take care of our business, because we've been doing it for 500 years. And what irks the white man is we're still here. No matter what he does, our spirits protect us. We walk in our shade, and we're not going anywhere no time soon. So that white man understands that now, and he realizes we're willing to die. And because he knows that, we will check them with unrelentless pressure. So ashe to all my beautiful black people. Ashe to the panel. I appreciate everyone for being patient.
Big bro. What's good, big bro?
No doubt. Right.
I like this brother.
Listen. At this point, I'm gonna say this now. At this point, I know George wants to get something out, so I'm gonna let him speak. But at this point, if you have something to say, just unmute your mic, and if I hear you, I'm gonna
say something.
make everybody bring to the attention, yeah. So it's
Okay.
not no people can mute and talk now, yeah. So I don't want to get no emotions up, yeah.
No,
George,
it's all good.
stop.
No,
Say
yeah,
what you gotta say now. Let's hear what's really good now.
You know, it's all good. You know, Big Bro basically said basically how I feel. You know, we live in a system of capitalism, and you know, I was saying we got to burn it down. You know, I came on talking about what they did in Philadelphia. They dropped bombs. You know, they kept us economically. You know, us until we start mobilizing together as black men together with unity. We're conditioned to be under the foot of white people. We're conditioned to be subordinate to them. We have to make them irrelevant to us for a while. So as we begin to develop ourselves, that don't mean we're going to be around them. That don't mean that doesn't mean that we don't do any business with them. Because in America, a white man call you a nigga and still sell you some sneakers. He'll still sell you a loaf of bread. It's business. We got to learn how to be more business minded. That's what Big Bro was saying. More business oriented and willing to defend our stuff. We got to be willing to suffer, burn it down. Okay, so what? You can't go to the store for? You got to be willing to suffer. I always say, if we treated this white man the way we treat each other as black men, it's over tomorrow. As violent as we are towards each other, the way we are if we was this way towards this system, it'd be over. I don't really get, at this point in my life, like I done been in trouble for all kinds of crimes against brothers that look like me. So at this point, I'm older, I'm mature, I got grandchildren, I got a wife. It's just more about, I believe when you get brothers together, we're gonna argue, we're gonna cuss each other out, we're gonna fight, and then we're gonna figure it out. That's just the way it goes when you get black males together in the room. We're gonna beat each other up, talk, and then we're gonna try to work to fix it. Because we got a lot of things we got a lot of in ourselves, a lot of demons within ourselves that we got to fix to the point where we can really walk side by side with each other. So I mean, the youth, as I said before, the youth is burning it down. I said we have a lot of failure from elders in suits, man. Elder politicians that's failed us. It's time for the young people now to take that stand. Like I said, H. Rap Brown, Stokely Carmichael, they wasn't old. They didn't wait till they got 50 to start making moves. You 19 and 20, you got a voice, open your mouth and say something. Make the move. You black college students, it's time. Make the move. Fred Hampton was young. These were all young men. Young, not just young men, young women as well. It's time to make the move and be seen. So now, Philadelphia, they tore Philadelphia up. I seen young black men united. They wasn't killing each other these last 3 nights. They was united and tearing up this city, burning it down. Can we stay united now, days afterwards, to move together, to mobilize, put our economics together, start getting our political way of thinking together, the youth? Can we start seeing it take place all over the country without an incident happening? Because we done had numerous incidents that have happened where I feel like they open up the door for us. Everybody's watching us and waiting for us to take a stand. Everybody. The world is watching, like, what are they going to do next? So don't let these other groups who stand to gain economically off of us, because like I said, all these nonprofit white groups, they want to get money for their groups, saying that they helping. They got organizations in black communities all across America saying that they got programs for black people. We don't need none of that shit. We need to have our own stuff, and we need to now speak for ourselves. We can no longer let a large portion of the Black Caucus speak for us anymore. A large portion of these black churches, some of the ministers, but a lot of them can't. They haven't gotten results. We got to come out and have a voice now and make it loud and still remain violent if those needs are not met. Because that's the only thing that this country respects. I'm in my 40s now, but when I was in my 20s and in my teens in Philadelphia, it was a powder keg. It's always been. The relationship with black people and the police here, I mean, just come here and see it for yourself. So I support the young people, man. I'm in the streets. I was out there when they were shooting the rubber bullets and the tear gas bombs, when they were setting up forts, not letting the police come into certain communities. I was right there talking to the young people, man. and telling them, you're going to see the video when I put it up tomorrow. But now people like me, other brothers like me, we got to go out here, man, and get these young bucks correction and direction. You know, Young Buck told me out there yesterday when I was on it, they said they tired of feeling like they out there alone. You know what I mean? You know, where we at? We ain't out there, we act like we scared of the youth. You know, so that's all I'm saying, man. Like, you know, in order for things to change, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. But for the people in the chat room, don't worry about us, man, sometimes arguing as black men, man. Listen, as black men, man, coming up out of this crackatosis that we suffer from, and this colonized mind, we're going to fight each other. We're going to cuss each other out. We're going to do all of that shit until we get it all out and understand that, man, we brothers one and the same, and we got to walk together because we got the same issues. So I don't take none of that stuff personal, man. That's all I want to say.
No, like I just come from a cloth, like, you know.
Speaking, Jamal.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I just come
Yeah,
from
go to, brother.
Yeah, I just come from a cloth where everything should be like in decency and order, and when it's not, you know, it confuses things, you know, because everything's not clean cut and dry. It's a whole lot of variables. If it was easy to fix, then it would have been fixed already. So when you addressing a topic as deep as this, we're talking about liberating our people. You have to deal with every single category that we dealing with here today. See what I'm saying? And sometimes we get so engulfed in ourselves and our own experience, and we don't realize how the rest of the world works. Now, I've traveled the world. I done been to many different countries, including Africa. I brought 50 people to Africa for the first time. Brought them to ancient Egypt, and they went in the pyramids with me. Shot music videos, all that there. See what I'm saying? So when I speak on Africa, I know actually Africans that live in Africa. See what I'm saying? It's not me just wanting to be tied to something. Like, I've actually dealt with people and I have family there. I know where my lineages come from. I know my tribes. I know what my bloodline is. See what I'm saying? So when I'm speaking with a passion that's literally oozing out of my blood. When I say I'm a Kemite, it's not because I choose to be. I have a lineage. Sometimes us as black people, because our ancestry was stripped from us, we just subscribe to anything. So we aren't really tapped in. So we don't understand how the world works because we're not seeing it through the eyes or the lenses of our ancestors. And from the eyes or the lenses of our ancestors, when an elder is in the room or when somebody's speaking, you let that person speak, and you ask the elder for permission before you speak. That's the way that you move. You see what I'm saying? There's a culture that comes with that. And I feel like until we learn that first part of it, which is knowledge of self, to understand where we come from and get tapped back into that, everything else is going to fall and crumble. We're not going to be able to take it to the next step. It's a select few people I can name on one hand that's capable of maneuvering through all the stages of life in all these different categories. When I deal with my ancestor as far as how we deal with economics, and when we're dealing with white people or any of other race, I think of Hatshepsut, Queen Hatshepsut. She reigned for 2,000 years. And Hatshepsut was so powerful, not because she was mighty with her sword, but because she extended her trade routes from Kemet all the way up into Europe and all the way to Asia and all the way to South Africa. That's when we were our greatest, when the divine feminine knew what she was supposed to be doing. And she was able to hold that down, and her lineage lasted for 2,000 years. We haven't been that great since. So when I speak on how we can get back to greatness, I keep that in my mind state. That in order for us to be great, we have to learn how to be able to take over the whole planet, which means we got to learn multiple languages, multiple cultures. It wasn't an isolation thing where it's just, oh, if you black, you black. Because everybody that's black and black skin ain't necessarily black because they don't even have the mindset. They're not even tapped in to their pineal gland. They're not even tapped into how to reach information that ain't in a book. Anytime I bring information to a black person, they say, oh, so who's your resource? And they're looking for resources from a white man, from some collegiate institution. Like we didn't create writing. Like we didn't create mathematics. See what I'm saying? People People write books. Books don't write people. And I feel like we've lost that part of our culture the most in America, to the point where we're not even creative. Who's the last inventor that you knew, that you actually know of, besides the ones they told you in the books? See what I'm saying? I think that we need to get back to tapping into our divine selves, get back to tapping into meditation, get back to tapping into how we gain intel without getting it from somebody else or he said, she said. I know a lot of people that do things on the internet. They get a lot of information from the internet. But if you ask them, okay, so what is your experience? Where have you been? It's crickets. It's crickets. They just regurgitating what they heard from somebody else and what they think it is. People told me that when I go to Africa, they don't even fuck with black people. They don't like black Muslims. That is what they told me. I went into Africa and I had the best time of my life. Them Arabs treated me with the utmost respect, better than I wanted to move there. I didn't want to leave. Me and my queen said, yo, why would we go back home? We was walking through metal detectors and they wasn't even checking us. The white people were walking through and they was like, oh, hold up, stop. They was like, hold up, checking them down. They treated us like kings. And I felt like, yo, and they was like, yo, let me touch your beard. They coming up to me and said, let me touch your beard. They said, you, look, this is you on the walls. See what I'm saying? So I felt like a lot of the intel that we get here in the United States about how the world really works is fraudulent. And the worst part is like we're acting on it. The stuff that Brother Khonsu said, you know, he saw both sides of the ledger. It's like my eye. You know what I'm saying? And I feel that, like he said, burn this shit down. Burn this shit down. Right? At the same time, don't be so fooled though. Don't be so fooled to think that when you burn this shit down, like they just gonna stand there and just look at you. You're gonna have to be able to protect it. You're gonna have to be able to build the infrastructure that would keep them out. What does that look like? What does that look like? You can't just say that and then not have a plan and implement it. You got to have something in place for that. And when we know that our problem is our dollar only stays in our community for 6 minutes, then we don't need to be talking about any type of money right now until we figure out barter and trade, until we figure out natural resources, how we're going to be able to move things around. We can't even talk to one another.
Jamal,
yeah.
Jamal, let me say this, yeah, because I'm hearing what you're saying, but this is what I think is the running problem, and this is what I want everyone to respond to, including you. The problem is coming where I think everybody is generally saying, and again, you touched on it in other areas, the inclusion of other people waters down the culture. So if you think of the same, if you think of us doing these marches, showing this level of rebellion and all the rest of it, it's by default, it's the same principle. Do we water down our movement by including white people in it?
I think that's a matter of opinion.
Hold up. There's a part two. There's a part. And after the movement, or once the movement's been achieved, as you're saying, what is the kind of place we're trying to live in? Because again, I've had this conversation with my brother George Macon. Not everybody wants to leave America. Not everybody wants to leave Europe. But you need to understand, you don't run this place. So if you are going to stay and you're trying to live in some sort of black harmony, yeah, then you need to be taking on the government. You need to be dealing with that beast right here, right now.
Right.
And by default, those same white people that are marching with you have no real reason to overthrow, or they have part reasons, but not a shared collective consciousness reasoning on why you're there and why you're particularly marching. They don't have the cultural, the DNA memory of everything you've gone through, you've experienced, and you have within you. You understand? This goes out again, not only to the people that recognize their African connection, but to all them people who want to claim America and stay right there and talk about there's no connection to Africa. I'm talking to you as well, those people.
Can I chime in?
You're saying that. Give me 1 second. Let me just wrap this up. Yeah, and once that's done, what are you doing with those same white supporters that are now next to you? Are they subjugated? Do they become the next second-class citizens? You understand? This is the questions that we're trying to ask as far as this movement goes. So I'm going to leave that there. If you want to say something, Jamal, and the other brothers want to chime in, or whoever, please do.
You said a lot of good points there. But I know for one thing, when I was out there and I saw all the different races out there moving on the same shit, it was the youth out there. And if you know anything about babies, racism is a learned behavior. It's not something that comes here and you just automatically racist. It's a learned behavior, period. If I took a white baby, a white black baby, a white and a black baby and put them in the room, they're not going to be at each other's throats. It don't work that way. Now, as they get older and they get taught different cultures, they get taught their differences, then they start to move into this space of racism. And when you see the children out there and you're walking with the children and you're teaching them certain things, if you teach them, you know, I teach my children, hey, listen, you never know who's going to be your saving grace. It could come from anything. You never know who's going to teach you something. It could come from anything. You never know who's going to be your friend or who's going to hold you down in that instance. And even when I came into the conscious community, most of the people that I had to fight, and this is not just making excuses for white people, I'm speaking the truth. The people that I had to fight most of the time was my own people. When I wanted to set up donations for Flint, Michigan, when I did that, I had to fight my own people. When I had to go to Africa, when I wanted to go to Africa, they said, oh, you're going to be sleeping in tents, do the fact check on me. I had to fight my own people. When I wanted to protest and say, you know, I'm going to bang on the police, I had to fight my own people. When I didn't want to protest and stay home, they said, oh, you part of the problem. I had to fight my own people. See what I'm saying? So sometimes we do got to check ourselves in this space as well. It's not just white people. It's all sorts of people out here now. And they're all mixed up. It's a melting pot. And you got to be a conglomerate. You got to be a goddamn iguana in this bitch. In order to get something to really work out here, you got to be a shapeshifter. Okay? Until we do that and we realize that no matter what, even if we wanted to marginal off everybody, it's an impossibility in America. Not with redlining and gentrification and all that's going on. It's damn near an impossibility. Half of y'all can't even get your credit right. And you talking about setting up a civilization and all that shit. You got to get land first, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't even got the basics of having to keep a dollar. Like I said, keep a dollar in your community. So if we're going to talk about this, we got to talk about it in a real way. And that means checking ourselves. Because I don't see the white man coming in here and telling you where to spend your money at all. I see them putting shit on TV and you falling for it. I see that. I see them driving by in their fancy car and you saying you want that. Instead of teaching your kids, like, you don't really need that shit. Like, you can get it popping. You know what I'm saying? Like, it comes with us first. It's going to start here. Your thoughts become actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your behavior, and behavior becomes your ultimate character. It's going to start with your thought process. So when I sit down and I talk to people, I say, okay, what's your ideology? What's your foundation? What's your fundamental principles that you stand on? Because that's how you can figure out what's going on. And for me, and I deal with Kemet. And Kemet, I embrace the 48 laws of Ma'at. The last law is to embrace the all. Embrace the all. If you don't embrace the all, you will be uncalibrated and you will fall off balance. You will be out of Ma'at. And that's period, because we've already done generations after generation after generation of people, and they're all mixed up now. It's a conglomerate. So it's not just a black and white thing. And I hope people realize that.
Somebody wants to say something. I'll just say this. When we talk about this white supremacy thing, as Dr. Nellie Fuller always says, you know, it's the biggest religion on the planet. Richie, we was on the phone this morning having this conversation, 6 o'clock this morning, my time. And I was telling you about, you know, this is messed up as we are here in the diaspora. When you go to Africa and you go to a lot of those big cities, you know, especially in West Africa, you know, their minds is just as colonized as ours is here. You know, I said, you know, if we go out into like those rural areas, like outside of the cities, you might see some, you know, Africans that still understanding nature, they're still doing those things. But in those cities, you know, they're just as messed up mentally as us. You know, they still got the white Jesus and, you know, this white supremacist way of thinking. You know, the brother said about buying their cars and buying all of those things. Well, you know, we've been socially engineered and indoctrinated for a long time to be up under their foot. So this is why I said I understand the world. I've traveled the world. I haven't been to Africa, but I've been to a lot of different places, you know, in my years of living. And everywhere you go, you see this white supremacist way of thinking that white is better. The standard of beauty is white. The standard of success is white. And we got to get that way of thinking out of our minds. So, you know, we have the ability to manifest the things that we want, the realities that we want. America wasn't always here. British and European rule hasn't been here forever. It was something that they created. So, you know, I always talk about the Freddy Krueger effect. We've lost our ability to dream, because when we do dream, we go in the spirit room, Freddy is there to kill you. So, you know, you lose your ability to dream, you die in the physical world because you manifest nothing. And this is what white supremacy, this is how they was able to maintain power, because we lost our ability to see ourselves out of it. And we fight amongst each other. So now within this system, of course we're going to fight amongst each other, because we're fighting amongst each other for a comfortable spot under the foot of the system. I mean, and the only way to fix this is for us to bond together. You know, they got a United Nations, they got a European Union. They fight amongst each other, but they all also agree on global and world domination. And that's how they was able to get their languages everywhere. That's why my name is George Meekin and I'm speaking English. You can go across the world to Australia and they speak in English. And, you know, that's not by an accident. That's by a way of thinking of pushing a global system globally. They got embassies, you know, in foreign countries all over the world. And, you know, so, I mean, things were strategically done. But that was something that was out of a thought process that was made manifest, and we have the ability to do it. We just have to believe that we can create these things. So it don't matter where we at, whether we're in Africa, whether we're in America, the original people can create the things when we get tired of being tired. So, you know, in the conditions we're in now, we're behaving the way we were designed to behave. Because if we wasn't beating up on each other or killing each other or disrespecting each other, we wouldn't be in the position we're in. We wouldn't even be having this conversation. You know, we'll be marching and putting ourselves in position of power. As long as we're in dysfunction and disarray, then they stay in power. That's the way it was designed. We wasn't born niggas. A nigga was created in America. That's a thought process that's instilled in our minds. That black culture is not nigga culture. So I mean, it's to me, it's psychological. You know, it's a way of thinking. They control us psychologically, so they control us physically. You know, we're the majority on the planet, and we're controlled by the minority. So the only way that they can control you is to control you psychologically. You know, so that's the way I see it.
CC, you got something to say?
I'm good.
No, you good? You sure? Brother Minister or Consul, what else
Yes,
is
my
your
brother.
opinion on this fact? Because this is the sticking factor. Like, there's so many different layers to this conversation. I think we're all in agreement. So, but when we're talking about how to amplify and harness the energy of this moment, that's the part I feel like we're getting. You know, we're hitting two different roads. So where do you feel on that? What's your position? And you kind of stated it already slightly earlier, but again, let us know, because that to me is the sticking point. Are we ultimately watering down the movement by these moves? And again, is the plan different for those who want to stay in whatever part of the diaspora they're in?
You know what, my brother? It's a question of power. If African people are powerful in Africa, we'll be powerful wherever you find us. It's just like this, we mentioned the Jews. The Jews have power, and wherever they are in the world, they manifest this power in their actions. Do you know what I mean? So because we're a powerless people, we're not respected anywhere. Like you can go to Africa, the white man's got more respect than us. You can go into the ghettos of Jamaica, and a white man can go in there and he won't get touched. But if I go there, it's a problem. If brother Jamal or anybody else in the chat wants to go there, it's a problem. But he can go anywhere, because in our mind, we've been programmed to think he's right. You know what I'm saying? Even when we want to do music, we think that if we go to him, we'll become more successful. So this is a mind. This is the way that our mind works when we've been conditioned for so long. So we need a new culture. That's my thing. A liberating culture. You know, and it's not going to be a question of who gone to Africa, because I've seen the comments. I've been going to Africa since I was 19 years old. Yeah, but that doesn't make me more understand the situation because I've been to Africa. So we don't really need to do that. But I will say going to Africa is an experience that everybody should do. You know what I mean? Go and see where our people are. They're very hospital, as we were saying, that you will see things in a different way. Because like the brother Jamal was saying, that a lot of people have a negative attitude towards Africa. African people don't like you. They separate us from our own people. But when you actually go to Africa and you meet our brothers and sisters in Africa, they're gonna embrace you. Do you know what I mean? 100%. So I encourage people to do that. But another question you asked, Richie, where you were saying like people that are protesting that are not African. Here's my thing now, yeah. Like what I've seen, and they can enjoy our culture. Some may fight with us, but the reality is it's a question of power. So when the position arises, are they gonna give that power up, or are they gonna share the power with us? They're not gonna share the power with us. They're gonna keep that power for themselves. Do you understand what I'm saying? Accountability is another thing. We must take accountability for our actions. We can't just like keep blaming the white man, brother, because we are contributing to this now, innit? Because look how long we haven't got ourselves together. Look how long Marcus Garvey came, Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad. Other people have come and told us to get ourselves together. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do for self. And because we're ignoring that, yeah, we're going to continue to have problems. Separation wasn't created by us, separation was created by them. You understand what I'm saying? But we ain't trying to integrate now because we realize they use integration against us. You understand? So it's time for us now to separate and do for self. Do you know what I mean? Focus on what we need to focus on. Malcolm X said it so brilliantly. There can be no white-black unity until there is first some black unity. We can't unite with everybody until we unite with ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Brothers from different states in America, different parts of the world, African people, we're at war with each other. How are we going to try and hold hands with everybody and we don't even want to hold hands with our sisters and our brothers? So we need a new mind state, my brother. I think once we start to change the mind, we'll start to change our actions. So the marching, for me, it serves its purpose. So I ain't knocking nobody that's been marching, but we got to really start thinking how we're going to get power. That must be the solution now. That's where our minds need to be going. How are we going to come together and get some power that we can stand on our own, that when the time comes, if need be, we can touch them up? You know what I mean? We have our bombs if necessary. We have our defense if necessary. And we will use them, as the elder said, when that time comes. And he's saying that the time now is to burn down the thing. And I agree, we should burn down the place, but we should be thinking about what we're going to build up. You understand what I'm saying? After we separate, or what are we going to be doing for our people and ourselves, our family, our mothers, our aunties, our children? What are we putting in place now that's benefiting them only? Because that's what culture is. Culture solves our problems. The reason why our problems are not getting solved because we have the wrong culture, my brother. But that's my two cents for now anyway, my brother. I'll share the platform with anybody else that wants to build with that.
Brother Konsu, come in, chat, say your piece. And I want you also, once you talk about the point you need to say, I want you to talk about what needs to happen next, because we got to this point where we've done this warring, we've got this initial heat, but on a realistic scale, where do we need to be moving next to initiate the real change that we're all kind of alluding
Brother
to and
Terry,
talking
I think
about?
you went out. I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Konsu?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You said,
Yeah. I was just saying, after you answer and say what you need to say, talk to where we need to go next. Now we've done this initial powder keg burst off, we filibustered off. What needs to happen next to affect the real change across the society? Like, do we need to be going to courthouses? Do we need to be going to the White House? Where you see the change that needs to happen now that we've initially started it?
what, could you repeat your initial question? Because I know there's been a lot of dialogue. So could you repeat your initial question?
The first part is just responding to what you've heard about the white people. The second part is about where we need to go after this fact now. We've started, so where do the protests need to go? Do you think they need to go to government buildings? What are we doing next?
Okay.
What are the series of events? Because in America, you guys are coming up to an election. What's supposed to be happening, guys? That is everyone supposed to still be voting? Or, like, what's the point? Where are we going? So talk to that.
Okay, well, again, I believe it all hinges on cultural context. It's applicable to understand that racism is global, and it affects people in different ways based on a person's culture, its surroundings, and their upbringing. The racial strife in the UK is racism, but it takes on different connotations in the UK as opposed to America. What we do know is that racism is universal, and bigotry is universal. Let me take Africa for instance. I've been to Africa numerous times. There is a lot of racism and bigotry in Africa. The Fulani do not like the Asante. They're very bigoted and to the point of racist toward one another. That's a cultural construct. We have to understand that it is a false dichotomy to believe everything is black and everything is white. That doesn't denote from the stance of the European and what the European has done, but is a cultural construct. And we have to think realistic and not idealistic. The history of Africa has always been a tribal issue. If you ask a continental African, they're going to identify with their lineage before they identify with the social political statement of being African. That is a social political distinction. When we're dealing with white people, we're dealing with a different culture, and therefore they're not a priority to us. That white people and getting along with them and all that kind of stuff is inevitable. But that's not the issue here. The mitigating factor here is that we repair ourselves. We repair black people globally. This is the foundation of Pan-Africanism. It isn't about moving from one land to another, because no matter where you go in the world, you're going to be black. No matter where you go in the world, you're going to be treated with racial oppression. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in Madagascar, if you're sitting in New York. Racism is racism. It doesn't matter. What needs to change is, and the solution for this is the ontology and the epistemology of understanding African culture and understanding what makes us uniquely who we are. I am an African that wants to be American. I am not going to denounce the lineage of my family that died and shed blood on this soil in order for me to be able to speak to you today. In the same breath, I am ancestrally African. I come from a continent of African people on the political continent called Africa. However, my lineage, direct lineage, is 500 years of African Americans, American Africans that have a lineage connected through our ancestry in Africa. And we have to work on the way that we communicate socially, the way that we communicate psychologically, the fact that African ontology is a specific way of viewing the world. We do not hold dear academic intelligence. We hold dear organic intelligence that is based on nature. So we have a different concept of what intelligence is. And the way that we organize is very important that we maintain our African identity. That is very important, no matter what level that we operate in. And directly speaking to you, Terry, is that there's nothing wrong with being intelligent academically because we live in a modern society. So we have to be gainful. We have to have the ability to provide and protect. And I give this message exclusively to black men because I'm a black man. Our responsibility is our women and children. They should not want for anything. And that is our greatest resource is women and children in our lineage. And we have to take on the responsibility and deal with the fact that we're just not going to be treated fairly. So we got to take what's ours. This isn't about bargaining. This isn't about negotiating. Black men got to be because that's where we are. We don't have an option. There is no option here. And this is the lineage of our black people. This is what our black men and kings did. And our black queens trusted and entrusted us in the ability to be willing to die for our nation.
George, mute your
It
mic.
is very, very important that we maintain a Pan-African mindset. And we don't try to sequester or isolate another African because their environment dictates a different attitude or a different level of morality. We are African totally and unapologetically. I'm going to empathize with my brother in Jamaica, Barbados, no matter where they are, UK, Australia. I'm going to empathize with their struggle because we have a global struggle. I'm not going to try to equate struggle with history and things like that. History has its place. But what are we going to do right now? What are we doing right now, this second? Because I could go back 5,000 years and talk about all our lineage, but guess what our ancestors are waiting on? Us. They're waiting on us. They're not waiting on us to talk about them because they did what they did and nobody gave them credit. Why do we deserve credit? For what? It's our turn to write history. We are living history right now. We're in the greatest pandemic in the history of the world. This is a universal protest. What's happening here is happening in Colombia. So we got to understand that and deal with this from a rational aspect and understand it's a multifaceted revolution. It's not just one paradigm that's going to answer this complex situation.
No doubt.
I agree. I agree. You know, Cece, want to say something? Cece eating her popcorn.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. People want to hear from you, Cece. I know, like, you was upset with the initial comments, but again, you pulled this together, so we need to hear from you.
Hey, Richie, listen. Brother Jamal, we just put our DNA. We found out that we both got a majority of Nigerian in us, so now we brothers.
See,
We figured it out.
that's why life is funny. What, Cece, you unmuted your mic. Please speak, because you've heard a few things. It's calmed down now. Add to the conversation. We need your energy. I did ask my brother to try and bring on another female. We couldn't put it together. It was a last minute request. But you are the only female, so please let me make room for you to talk.
Well, I don't want to sort of like regurgitate information that's already been put out there anyway. Or just, you know, keep repeating stuff. A lot of what's said, well, nearly everything that's been said has been stuff that I agree with. And you know, there's no sort of right or wrong method to this. We're just in obviously a very sad state as people, and yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I think if I'm being completely authentic to myself right now, I would say that as much as the fact that whatever sort of beef has been squashed between panel members, that's wonderful. But the reality is that there was an issue. There was an issue that took place. And, you know, Khonsu the God, I've agreed with absolutely everything that he said. There was conversations about, you know, energies and frequencies, and everybody's kind of mentioned certain things. And for me, I feel like when you let off certain frequencies into a space like this, for me personally, it's affected me. I'm just going to be honest. It's affected me. And I see these types of interactions happen way too often where initially the premise of the meet is and the reason for the meet is always with good intentions, but things like ego come into play, anger, frustration, all of those things come into play, which I completely get, understand, sympathize with. This is a serious topic we're talking about, but at the same time, as Black people, we have to be in control of ourselves. Yeah, we have to be in control of our emotions. We have to be in control. We have to be in control. One of the things that I loved about Malcolm X more than anything was his poise, was his articulation, the way that he conducted himself, the fact that he was not only a great speaker but a great mutual respect needs to be had amongst Black people. You will never be able to understand what somebody else is saying if you don't take the time to listen. Brother Minister had to chime in and say that it was him that actually interrupted. That got lost in the back and forth. And when I was talking before, I was saying this is the prime example for me personally why I feel like a lot of the time we don't progress. There's always egos involved. There's always anger involved, a lack of self-control. We need to be more disciplined as people. That's it. That's paramount. That's essential. I've seen too much shit happen, and there's too many intellectual people, Black people, for anger or frustration or a lack of composure to kind of distract from the message. And I mean, like I said, I'm happy with how the show's gone. I think a lot of points have been made, a lot of valid points, a lot of information's been put out there. But I just feel like for me personally, I feel like if we take anything from this is just to, be more, listen more and have a bit more self-control.
No doubt. No doubt. Real talk. Yeah, me. I think you needed to say that. I think there's no harm in us all hearing that. Definitely. It's a real thing. Everybody let that sink into your bones. You understand? It's real. But all right, in regards to the conversation, this is where I want to go with it now. The political system. As I said, you guys are coming up to a vote. I see a lot of silly people, and I'm gonna call them silly people, talking about they like Trump, they like this one, they like that one. Do we as Black people still believe in the political system as it's laid out right now? And that's across the diaspora, whether you're in England, whether you're in America. Are we still at this point participating in voting and this kind of thing?
I would have to
Anyone?
say no. And even alluding to what the sister was saying, it's like the position that we in, and this is what I was saying before about timing. We had the time to deal with the politics. We had the time to sit down and talk about shit. I feel like right now where we at war. It's clear. You can see it on every channel. Anybody that's not seeing that right now, is delusional. I'm literally coming off the battlefield. See what I'm saying? Like for real. I don't have a voice right now because I'm literally coming off the battlefield. And I'm dodging bullets and cars blowing up. And now I'm sitting on a panel with people who want to sit down and talk. As if we wasn't just doing that for the last 400 years. Talking.
That's not what we said.
I feel like because I just came off this, because of where I just came from, there's really no time to really talk right now. It's either you banging or you not in a time of war. They blowing people's heads off right in the middle of the street, filming it. Okay? Filming it. And we trying to figure out a strategy. It's like, bro, when we did the wake-up call and had all of them scholars come out, that's when we were supposed to be strategizing. You know what folks was doing? Having debates as to who has the best knowledge. See what I'm saying? While we was trying to mobilize and do peace talks with all the different aspects of different people, that's what got me here today. It's because I dodged all the debate. You never seen Jamal Milne debate, not one. Because I said, you know what? No, we need to be mobilizing and uniting because it's about to hit the fan real soon. And when it hit the fan, I hope you got your infrastructure ready. See what I'm saying? So when it hit the fan, my infrastructure was ready. I was ready to go for war. It didn't matter if they came into the movement and started doing what they were doing. If white people joined in and started breaking windows, my infrastructure was there. If you look at my immediate circle, I had Black people with me. when we went to the riots, when we walked across the bridge. Now we know that they had insurgents in there, but that doesn't mean that they leading this shit, because nobody from the conscious community even knew what we were doing until we were already there. See what I'm saying? But the ones who was just sitting around having debates and was entertained by all that shit, they had nothing set up when it was time to bang. And now they're looking at the people coming off the battlefield like, oh, you need to calm down. No, I don't. Because it's wartime right now. It's time for you to be getting your bullets up, getting your guns up, and get to banging. If you're not banging, stay in the house, put your mask on, and get your lights on. Because the rest of us is out here banging. And that's what it's going to be. Because that's the time that we're in. It's too late for trying to orchestrate shit and all of that. We're burning shit down right now as we speak. And we're not going to finish until it's done. Now, if you want to join in, you can. And we'll put you on. But we're not going to be sitting here talking the easy talk and trying to appease people. No. Because we got to talk about, what does warrior talk sound like for black people? What does soldier talk like sound like for black people? See what I'm saying? We good at doing that against one another. But when it's time to go against the police or the powers that be that's really holding us back, the ones that matter, the police stations, the town halls, the judges, the magistrates, everybody that's holding people back, it's like we get silent. It's like we get silent. We don't say nothing at all. We want to black out our picks. See what I'm saying? So what we also got to be mindful of is that there are people that are designed to go out here and fight for their people. There are people out here that are designed to be warriors. And you don't talk to them the same way you talk to somebody that's doing administrative work or doing clerical work or somebody that's even an organizer. There are people that are designed for this. And there's an order as the way you talk. You ever seen how the army people in the army talk? They talk in order. It's like, sir, yes, sir. If you talk over who's over you and your magistrate and who's handling things, like, you know how it goes down. See what I'm saying? So I feel like, we got to be honest with ourselves. Like, if we talking about Africa, we talking about Pan-African, there don't need to be nobody on the panel that hasn't been to Africa. Huh? Let's talk authenticity. If you haven't been to Africa, what are we really talking? So that means you're talking from the perspective of other people who've been there, or information that you're getting from the white man on the internet, or what they taught you about Africa. You haven't even been there. You haven't seen it. You haven't actually grounded yourself, put your feet on the soil, and connected with your ancestors. So how can I even relate to that?
Hold on.
I want
Sister,
somebody that's actually been there. That's why me and Consul related, because he's been there.
Hold on, brother. She wants to respond to this point. Go ahead, Cece.
Two things. I mentioned earlier, just a moment ago, about the concept of listening, of actually hearing what's being said. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm in another conversation, but Jamal mentioned something about, he's sitting on a panel with a bunch of people who want to sit down and talk. I don't think any one of us said that that's all we want to do. So I'm not entirely sure where that came from. I don't know if maybe he wasn't listening. That's not what was said. The other thing that I just need to clarify his point about people that haven't been to Africa, what that means. So if maybe he can enlighten me, in terms of what you mean, because I didn't really understand it. You said something about, what are we doing? If you haven't even been to Africa, what are we talking about? Can you explain what you mean by that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it says a lot about somebody that says, yeah, I'm pro Disneyland, and you've never been to Disneyland. When you say, oh yeah, I love the people that be in Disneyland, and you ain't never been there a day in your life. So it tells me the perspective at which you speak from might not even be authentic, which is why the vibrations don't link up. See, me and Consul, when he came on, immediately I linked with the brother, because the way that he was vibration, I could tell that he has been traveled. He's seen what goes on in the rest of the world. So the things that he's saying, I can even agree to disagree at some points, because I know the perspective that he's talking from. But if you ain't never actually been there, then you're not qualified to even talk about it. It's like you really got to be authentic in what you're saying. It's a lot of there's levels to this. Especially when I was talking about layers and how you got to understand, because people are from Africa, you wouldn't be here And anywhere else in the world, we wouldn't have circumnavigated the globe if the culture wasn't something that we was trying to spread out to all the masses. That's what you'll understand as soon as you get to Africa. There's places in Africa where you'll find Muslims, Christians, and people of all different faiths worshiping in the same temple. And it blows your mind. It's like, what do you mean? That doesn't even exist in the United States. So you have a different perspective of energy, of vibration, and how people get along with one another and how people respect one another. So when somebody speaks out of turn or goes over that threshold of respect, then you see how they act over there. You steal a loaf of bread, they chop your hand off. It's like it's eye for an eye. If you when somebody does something to you, you can't tell somebody how to react. See what I'm saying? You can't tell somebody the level at which they have to react when you've crossed the line. So it's like, I feel like anytime we having this conversation, especially right now, when we're dealing with African people and liberating people, there's a certain level of authenticity that you have to even sit at the table. If not,
So
the people who never been to Africa and are wondering what it's like, or just doing whatever they feel is research in books and the internet, but it's not going to be authentic to me. I'm gonna look at it like, all right, you might think you know what you're talking about, but I can tell you differently. And I'm telling you, like, that's not the mindset of African people. Our African people are not linear. Like,
but you're not the gatekeeper of authenticity.
there's so many tribes in Africa. They have all
You're
different
not the
ideology.
gatekeeper of authenticity.
Hold up,
I don't
brother.
think that doesn't mean anything.
That's your
Let me jump.
Hold up, everyone. Calm down. Wait, just repeat what you just said, Cece, before George comes in, because I didn't hear what you just said.
I mean, he's saying if you've never been to Africa, you're not even qualified. You shouldn't even have a seat at the table. As far as you're not the gatekeeper of authenticity. So what you're saying in that statement doesn't mean anything.
We're talking about liberation. We're talking about liberation.
Jamal, hold up. Let her just respond, please.
All right, go ahead.
Say what you finish saying what you say, Cece. Mute your mic, George, for 1 second, and then you're coming after she finishes talking. Yeah, go on, Cece. Finish what you're saying now.
I mean, he's entitled to his opinion, but as far as I'm concerned, he's not the gatekeeper of authenticity, okay? He's not qualified. He's not, like, you don't have the authority to determine who has a seat at the table based on the fact that they've either been to Africa or not. You have people who have never been to Africa, who have family who were born in Africa, that everything about them and their culture is African, their history is African. They've just never been. Then you have people who have been to Africa, and Africa is there's so many different countries. Like, I don't even know what he's saying right now. I'm
Let me help you, because if the topic is liberation of dialect,
it's not your turn. Be quiet.
Hold up, Jamal. Let her finish.
All right, go ahead.
Don't worry, bro. It's cool.
This is what I'm talking about, though, Rich. This is what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's like, if you want to talk about respect levels and stuff, like, give people the respect, yeah, to finish what they're saying. Like, you made a big hoo-ha before. Like, allow people to speak. This is not your show. Like, I don't think you have to have been to Africa in order to want to go and live on the continent. I don't feel like you have to have been to Africa to know that is where you want your final destination to be. I don't think you having gone to Africa makes you any more African than anybody else. I think his comment is highly ignorant. He is not the gatekeeper of authenticity. And I find it insulting that he would sit up here and say that people that have not been on the continent are not qualified to be on the panel. It is disrespectful and it is ignorant.
You done?
Hey, let me say this. Let me say this.
Hold on, let me respond to her.
Hold up, Jamal. You can come back. Relax.
Let me say this. You know, I've never been to the continent.
I'm good. I'm gonna let y'all talk.
You know, I grew up. You know, I got a lot of family. I got family members, a lot of family members that've been to Africa, a lot of friends. And I know I grew up in Southwest Philadelphia, and we have an area called Little Africa that I've been to and interviewed Africans many a times. It's like a 10-block radius of all African stores here in Philadelphia. I was actually there yesterday when they had the day before yesterday when they had the riots, and none of their stores were touched. Nobody touched the African stores. Nobody looted or broke a window of the African stores. And with my brother, some of the things I was saying, a lot of Africans, some of them talk like that, but a lot of them don't talk like that. I know some brothers that still come from Africa that still have their black minds, and we talk about the stuff that we talk about. They talk about, I know a brother from Cameroon, we talk about global white supremacy and things. So Africa's a big country, and everybody doesn't think the same. Everybody's not doing the same thing. In Africa, from what I'm told, you can go from one country to another country and you consider it a foreigner. So, I've known Brother Jabari for a long time. I've met Brother Jabari multiple times in New York, and having conversations, one-on-one conversations with the brother off camera. Brother Jabari talks about this time of who, and the things he's done globally around the world. So, me, Brother Jabari, and Nika, we've had extensive conversations about this white man. So I understand that from a religious aspect, different people of color may come and worship in different places, but white supremacy is still what it is.
Exactly.
And one aspect of white supremacy is controlled psychologically through religion. And if we understand the history of West Africa and Islam in West Africa, and some of the carnage that brought, in West Africa. So I mean, it's just understanding history. You could be here in the Americas or family from the Caribbean that still have African family members, still have a strong African connection. So you don't have to be there to fully understand what's going on the continent. You have a lot of people in Africa that's strictly fighting for liberation. That's against all of the stuff. That wants the white man out. So it all depends. It's the same as you have here when Brother Richie, when you asked about the vote. That's going to say we shouldn't vote. You're going to have some brothers and sisters that's going to say, hey, we built this country. We have every right to this country. We're going to vote in the elections. We fought in every war. So there's going to be an argument amongst black people which way we should go. It's the same thing on the continent. It's the same thing. It's going through the same thing. So it's not one way. It's not one way of thinking. Because like I said, colonization and religions from Islam to Christianity has hit Africa hard. And a lot of them have abandoned their natural way of thinking and old spiritual systems. They're walking around worshiping white Jesus.
That's a fact.
So I mean, they're not practicing the ancient teachings of the ancestors. When you at a place and you bow on your head to Allah, knowing that you come from a people way older than a Quran. So and some of them have taken the Quran, but they still practice the ancient spiritual beliefs all mixed in. So like I said, it's not just one way. And I don't think that we should do that, because it is disrespectful to put everything in one box and say a person is not qualified because we don't know a person's travels or where a person's been or who a person is connected to. So I just think, but in these conversations, when we all get together and talk, like I said, the conversations ain't gonna always be comfortable. It's not gonna always be the way we should like it, but these conversations are necessary in order to get through to the places we need to get to. That's all I'm saying.
Can I respond now? Because I just heard y'all say for like an hour and a half that the white man cannot understand what we're going through because they don't come from where we come from. Huh? I just heard y'all say that for like an hour and a half. And now you telling me that you can understand what's going on in Africa, even though you've never been there. Y'all, that shit is the most hypocritical shit that I've ever heard, B. Because you just got finished telling me that somebody outside of the culture cannot understand the culture, but yet you have never been to Africa to experience the culture for yourself. And you telling me you can understand the culture of African people. No, you cannot. If you have not been there, you can't understand the culture according to your philosophy. You lined yourself up. If you have not experienced the culture for yourself, you're guessing, and you'll never be able to experience what's going on in Africa because you've never been there. That's what it is. So which one is this is what I mean about African American thought. It's because you're conflicted in your own ways. You don't even know which way to go with it. You're just guessing. You see what I'm saying? Your own philosophy you falling into now. And I need one of y'all to explain that to me. I'm gonna turn my mic.
I want to ask you a question. So based off of what you're saying is, you have hundreds of thousands of Africans in America, right? Oh, there's some feedback because I want to address this because this is a layup. You have hundreds of thousands of.
CC, do me a favor, mute your mic, CC, please.
Yeah, especially Philadelphia. A lot of Africans here that's been here, Liberians, people from Ghana, people from Senegal that still practice the culture. Like I said, in the area I grew up in Southwest Philadelphia is flooded with Africans, and they go back and forth, and we have conversations. We grew up in the same communities together. I didn't have to be on the continent. Like I said, Africa is a continent of many countries. So wherever you've been, fine, I respect that. But you can't speak as if just because you've been to the continent that other people may have had interactions with other Africans that say, well, in my country, this is what's happening in my country. You haven't been to every country in Africa. Every country in Africa don't practice the same customs and traditions.
You sound like a white man saying I got black friends.
I mean, I'm not here for competition, but hold on, I got this. I'm not here for competition. I mean, you practice ma'at, so right now you're not practicing ma'at in the way you behave. But
it's over with.
That's not the behavior of ma'at to me. I mean, and your teacher, me and your teacher's very, very close. So you're not. This is not the way Jabari.
Brother, he's not my teacher. Don't get twisted. Go ahead.
That's what you said. You said he was your spiritual teacher, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is you have different cultures, different languages in the same countries. So if I'm sitting and I'm talking to a brother from Benin, and he's telling me about Benin, and he's telling me, listen, you got freedom fighters there just as well as you have here. They just don't get green cards to come here. They're on the ground there. They're not practicing this, so they're not doing these things. And then you come in because you may have been to Egypt or another place in Africa, and I'm talking to a brother from over here. So I will be inclined to not take what he says face value just because off of what you're saying because you've been to a different country. I mean, where do they do that at? Like I said, we live in America where you have thousands of Nigerians all here. I'm in Philadelphia, one of the blackest cities in America. You have whole African communities here. Not African Americans, African from the continent that have stores in black communities that we intermingle with every day. I just told you, we just had a big riot here. Every other foreigner stores was looted, but the African stores in Southwest Philly. You guys will see the video tomorrow when I put it up. I'm talking to the Africans. They're telling me about the African coons and the African sellout leadership, and then the wars that's going on the ground that CNN don't show. So I disagree with the aspect of not being qualified just because you've been there. When we live in America, where we actually, especially on the East Coast, you being from New York, I'm being from Philly, we have access to all kinds of Africans.
Can I comment?
Can I add something? Sorry, Elder, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I want both of you guys to speak. So afterwards, Brother Minister, come in. Yes. Go to Konsu.
At some point in time, we have to agree to disagree. Chicago, Illinois, Detroit, Michigan, Harlem, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Senegal, Zimbabwe, Nigeria. It's all Africa. We are glorious people. We have been and affected every facet of land across this world. We have a greater calling, and it requires a vast thought process because we are doing something that has never been done before. We have to understand that we are trailblazers, and we have to think differently than, let's say, we thought in 1960 or that we thought in 1860. We have to apply ourselves to applicable knowledge and wisdom that applies to today. And what's reasonable, we have the internet. Malcolm X did. We're talking, we have people out from all over the world right now talking. All over the world in the chat. We're a different revolutionary. We have to address things differently because we're taking on the responsibility of writing history for our descendants. We will be the ancestors that are spoken of. So we have to take a more refined approach to it, and we have to apply ourselves as intelligent people. I respect all forms of African ontology, no matter where you are. I can go to talk to an African that resides in India and relate to them and their struggle, because this is a struggle of humanity. I am a spiritual practitioner of Ifa, Egyptian knowledge, Olomayambi. Okay, that's my personal business, right? But I so much appreciate my Christian background. I'm so grateful for my tenure in the Nation of Islam. Oh my goodness, if I wouldn't have experienced those things, it wouldn't have led me to where I am today. I am not going to degrade anybody for any religion, because religion is a code of ethics, and you would develop morals that are personal within those ethics. So it's not me to judge a person the way they pray. I judge the person the way they treat me and the way that they treat humanity. We are all facets of humanity. Since when did we develop the ego to think we're greater than the planet we stand on? We are merely pebbles on a beach of sand. I am nobody compared to the grand scheme of things. I know nothing. I learn something new every day, and I can learn from a child as well as an adult. I learn from experience and life. And I'm really grateful that I have the ability to breathe the breath of life. And every time upon rising, it is a grand rising. And I do my best to enlighten those I come across, and they do the same for me. So I think that Black people, yes, we have strife. Yes, we suffer from social and psychological disorders that somewhat separate us. But we have to practice the art of letting go. Letting go of those things and moving forward as the revolutionaries that we are. Each of us plays a major role. No one is better than the other. We have a collective movement that should be respected for the paradigm that each of us is in. And, I implore that to all the beautiful Black people on this panel, the chat room and their opinions. Nobody has a wrong answer here. I don't see how. Nobody has a wrong answer here. It's detrimental to the survival of our nation. So I appreciate everyone listening.
Brother Minister, were you there?
Yeah, I'm here, my brother. I was gonna just talk about the not going to Africa thing, because before I actually went to Africa, that was something that people used to say to me all the time. You're talking all this Africa talk, but you ain't never been. Do you know what I mean? And I think that and then when I went to Africa and I come back, I said, what are you gonna say to me now? Because I've been now what? I don't, Marcus Garvey never went to Africa. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that care about the liberation of our people that would never touch the foot of Africa. So I don't think, that statement is 100% correct. But I do agree that you have to go to Africa to experience what it really is to be African in some aspects and see the land for yourself. Because if you've never been, I can't describe it to you. Even the smell of the place, I can't actually, describe it to you. And Africa is a huge continent. If you go to East Africa, it's going to be different to West Africa. You know what I mean? Africa is a huge place, got over 2,000 languages, different cultures across the continent. We need a revolutionary culture that's going to bring us all together. Whether you been to Africa or not, whether you die in Africa or die in Europe or North America, we still one people. Like I keep saying, this is a racial thing, so we should pull together on that. And like the elder said, sometimes it's an agree to disagree thing. We don't have to keep going on over things, and it gets tiring. People get offended, and then we just turn into the worst of ourselves. Do you know what I mean? And we're trying to have a positive conversation where we could be the best of ourselves. We're all human beings, and we make mistakes and get upset and get angry and want to cuss. But it's in mastering self. You got to know when you're wrong. And put your hand up and say, all right, cool. You got to love Black people more than they hate themselves, man. And my battery's gonna die, so if I leave the chat, it wasn't bad manners. I'm just letting you lot know from now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this,
Cool, brother. Hold up. One sec, George. This is what I will say on the matter, yeah. again, as the brother pointed out, yeah, there's loads of people that have not been to Africa that still care about the movement. But I will say, if you are deep into the culture, if it's something that you're constantly talking about, if it's something that you are talking on different levels as far as economics, as far as spirituality and all the rest of it, then you need to get your passport in order at some point in time and take yourself. You know, I don't have a problem with that statement. The statement of qualification that you can't speak until you go, that is a sticky situation, because as we've already pointed out, there's plenty of people that are coming with real concepts, real talks that are needed, and they haven't gone there yet. But I will say, and I've said on many a show, and George knows this, you know, people need to travel. And I think this is a bigger problem for people from the Americas than even from the UK, because we're on a small island. So it's incumbent upon us to travel. And our family relations are from Jamaica, Africa. So we just find ourselves traveling a lot more. Americans, on the other hand, I feel live in more of a bubble. So this is definitely more of an issue for the average American as far as traveling outside of Americas. That I will say. So that's something that, again, people who claim to be Pan-Africanists, people who claim to love the culture of Africa, is something that you would, you know, you need to try to crack somehow, some way. But again, not going there does not negate your DNA cultural memory. That clearly shows out whether or not you've ever seen that place before. You know what I'm saying? Place like New Orleans, there's various cultural practices that happen in the Americas and across Europe that speak testimony to the fact that there is no forgetting of some of these cultural mores. But at some point, if you're on it, then you need to take yourself there. George, you unmuted your mic. What did you want to say?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump off because you know I don't really want to get into the competition thing and the flip flop. You know how we do, Richie. You know, we like to just bring the information, man. Listen, you know, a lot of people don't have the economics to go to Africa. A lot of our people. That don't mean that they don't love Africa. That don't mean that they don't have a connection. That don't mean that they're not qualified. We live in America where, like I said, especially East Coast cities where you have a lot of proximity to African people. I believe that a lot of us need to get to the continent to experience the continent. But that's a different conversation and being qualified to speak on the panel about different topics as far as African American topics, African topics, diaspora topics. I think that's bullshit. But I think that if we have the means to get there, we should. You know, everybody don't have the economics to be able to get to Africa. Some are fortunate, then I think that should be a trip that they should take. Like I said, I'll say it again. All Africans that come here to the Americans don't all agree or think the same way. You know, they don't. All Africans think that they should be rubbing shoulders side by side with the white man. You can see that in South Africa right now. So it all depends on the perspective and where you're from. Everything is just one way of thinking. I agree with constantly. I agree to disagree. I don't want to get into a competition match with another black man about something that we can all clearly see as a problem. So, you know, because it gets us nowhere. You know what I mean? You know, that brother's entitled to have his opinion, but I would never come on a panel and say he's not qualified to speak on something, maybe because I have enough years, not old enough. No, he's qualified to have his opinion. You know, I just think that, like I said, we all have our experiences. You know, nobody really on this panel, you know, really personally knows my family, you know, and what I'm connected to. You know, the African spiritual practices, you know, on my Cuban side that they practice, things that I'm aware of. So, I mean, it just in my family that's been to Africa, that's come back multiple times in the conversations that we had. So going to Africa, I think we should all experience. But being qualified to speak as if there's just like this utopia in Africa, that's bullshit. That's bullshit because it's not just a big utopia in Africa. So, thanks for having me, Rich, man. I see you on the other side. I call you later.
All right, brother. Big up, big up, big up, big up. Cece, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I think it was put quite eloquently. But yeah, I think I'm gonna head out now. So yeah.
Listen, this is you know what? You know what's funny to me, and I want Konsu to speak on this here, because I see you on a lot of shows, Konsu. I see you talking with a lot of different people. And again, the vibe that's gone on today, I don't think it's anything that major to what you've seen and I've seen on some of these shows, and even Jamal's seen it, and George. Yeah. But again, when you look at this mini verse of what's out there in the diaspora, and don't worry, I'm gonna come to you, Jamal, as well, and Brother Minister, and
Oh, go on,
CC, if
tell
you're
it.
still here. You get me? Like, what's good? What's really good for us? Like, again, we're talking about war, but even war needs strategy. It needs logistics. It needs certain heads, cooler heads to prevail. It needs shit to happen. So again, if we can't talk in this circle, like, what's really good? You understand? When you look at this as somebody who comes from the metaphysics as well as the physical and the economics and all the rest of it, what's, you know, and you're talking to UK people, we're talking to USA people. Do you really see this global change coming? Because again, we've got all these people in different cities marching and doing their thing. But again, converting that energy to what we're talking about is two different things. So, is that happening in your head?
Yeah, I do see it happening that way. I think it's not happening the way some may want it to happen. Social media desensitizes this particular movement in our history because we've never had access to social media like this. So what's developing, Rich, is personality worship. We're kind of having an affinity for person's person opposed to them just being part of the movement. You take idols in our history like Malcolm X. At the end of the day, he was a human being. At the end of the day, he had flaws. At the end of the day, he made mistakes he probably wished he could take back. So we're losing the understanding of the human experience. Because we're so, you see my face and, I'm all over the place, or this person is all over the place. We tend to hold people to an unfair standard. I do appreciate what Malcolm said in one of his speeches where he said, entertainment serves a purpose, but they're not a priority. And we all have our own personal lives to attend to here. And a lot of times we put ourselves on standards that we're not willing to put on ourselves because another person is popular. It's not easy to put your face out there, and it's not easy to put yourself up for scrutiny. And so globally, I see people that are willing to make a change because of social media, because of the ability for situations to hit at a global rate. So I think there are some good things about it. And I do think that it's coming to an apex. I think that it is where people are starting to connect to each other on different levels. And for those who have the 1960 mentality of this black or white, you're going to have white people and all people of color that are going to come together for a cause. Because the new generation of white people don't even have a clue of what their ancestors did. They just believe in humanity because they're being subject to social media. So the issue of color isn't as prevalent to them. So you can't go around now saying all white people are terrible. They're just not reasonable. It may hurt your feelings, but it ain't about your feelings. It's about the movement of black nationalism. And that movement is going to include people that might not fit your stereotype. Because that's just what it is. That's we have to look at the world from a realistic paradigm. I would watch old footage of Malcolm X. He would be sitting and talking very respectful to this European who's supposed to be the enemy. Right? But he would talk in a way to get his point across because he knew he had to interact with them. That was the key. We have to interact. We have to still deal with politics. We have to still deal with world politics. We have to deal with economics. We have to do it from an African perspective. That does not absolve us from dealing with the real term, understanding what is interest, what is compound interest, what is money market? How do I develop wealth in this day and time? How do I protect myself in a limited liability capacity? How do I organize in 2020? Because you can't organize in 2020 the way you can organize in 1960. These protests was calculated. They were hitting key spots, which is why I appreciate it. People say, oh, why would you burn down my resource? In my opinion, Walmart is not a resource. Walmart is a culture vulture. Walmart takes us and makes us work for pennies to produce products that come from China. That is the main reason why we have a trade deficit. And the taxes then parlayed onto the working class people. You can't tell this shit now. It's not benefiting me. I don't need you to give me a job. I need you to give me freedom and liberty. I don't need your job. We got the internet. We can create jobs. I don't need that. What I need is my freedom and my liberty. And I need to be treated as an equal. So the new revolutionary, it's going to be hard to get accustomed to. It's going to take a little while because we stuck in history books and we stuck in marching and we shall overcome. These young warriors, they're not having it. You're not going to send no young man down and tell him to read a book when he hasn't eaten in a few days, or he's 18 years old and he got a child and he got to pay rent for his girl and the child. You ain't going to be able to tell him nothing about no Selma, Alabama. It ain't going to work. Not today. I know it's not working in Chicago. It ain't working in Chicago. We had 40 deaths in this protest. We had 10 police officers murdered. They're not having it. They're not having it. So we're going to have to deal with what it is today. And as an elder, I have to respect that. I can't just impose my own personal opinion on this movement.
Hold true, brother.
I'm gonna say that
Jamal.
brother Kansu seems to be right spot on with what he's saying. You know, the topic of the conversation was liberation dialects, right? So we're talking about liberating Black people. When I first initially came on, what I said was, in order for us to liberate ourselves, you're going to have to deal with white people, just like he said. You're going to have to. It's impossible not to. I was counter-reacted with, no, we can do this on our own. When we don't feel comfortable with white people standing next to us, when we protest or when we do what we do. And I said, well, I don't agree with that. I was told that they can't understand the experience because they're not Black. They haven't gone through what we've gone through. They haven't walked through the doors that we've walked through. Okay? So then later on, I don't forget, we got onto the topic of Africa. And I said, well, you've never been to Africa. You've never walked through those doors. So you can't speak on Africa. And that was based on the perspective of those who said that this is how we playing the game. So now, since it done hit the fan, and it looks like you don't really stand on the principles that you say you stand on. It looks as though that, you know, maybe I'm just bugging out. But when in fact, what I did was I used the same philosophy that was given to me from the beginning of the conversation, which was if you have not walked through those doors, you can't speak on it, you can't experience it, you can't connect with it. Is what the word is, was what the words are. So now we want to flip-flop and go back to anybody can talk about Africa and connect with it. Any person can connect with it based off of who they know and friends. And in my perspective, this is the same thing that white people tell us when they say, I have Black friends. I know exactly how it feels. This is how I see it. And under that philosophy, that's what it would be. So now in reality, the truth is this. Anybody on the planet can get intel from anywhere and speak on it and act on it. It does not matter what color you are. It does not matter what race you are. You can act on any ideology that you want to. When you understand the esoteric part of information, the esoteric part of vibration and frequency, and how this works with human bodies that enact practices on this earth. I can go and plant a tree just as well as a Spanish man can go and plant a tree, and it'll grow the same exact way if we both cultivate it the way it's supposed to be cultivated. Does not matter. But we, as Black people, because of the systematic oppression that we have gone through in this United States, feel that there's nobody that can be empathetic. There's nobody that can be sympathetic. And there's nobody that can go through the same plight. I know firsthand some people who are lighter than me, much lighter than me, not of the same race. And they've had a harder experience in life, a harder experience in life. And I can't help in my humanism but to be empathetic, sympathetic. It does not matter to me. If we're going to move and we're going to move for Black people, we're going to move for Black people. Am I Black? Absolutely. Am I of African descent? Absolutely. And I know that there are white people that live in Africa. Are they African? I don't know. That's for you to make. That's for you to decide. Because you guys, a couple of you guys, I won't say all you guys, but a couple of you guys feel that because of the color of your skin, you cannot relate to Africa. But yet and still, you insist on saying because you have not been to Africa, you can still relate to Africa. And to me, that is a contradiction. So that's why I said what I said, to prove a point that when you're dealing with knowledge, information, wisdom, and understanding, anybody can pick this up, anybody can run with it. And it showed over this past week. It has been showed since the beginning of time. As a Kemite, we let people come in, we let people go out. We gave them information, and you know what? Some of them distorted it and they went their own way and they messed it up. Some of them created their own little whatever vibes and they messed it up. But at the end of the day, if you look, there's pyramids all over this world. They use the same blueprint that Africans created. And if you want to keep it all the way a buck, white people came from us. We created them. If we was the first people on the planet, how did they get here? If you want to say that the Black man is God and we was the first ones here, you got to explain how white people get here. They got here from us. So in a sense, those are our children. And you have a responsibility to fix them. You can't just oust them. That's why we in this position. When we kicked them out of Africa and sent them to the Caucasus Mountains, we let them back in. You know why? Because we knew who they were. That's what happened in history. This is a historical fact. We knew who they were. So now some people are going to get it and know the history, and then others just won't. And it is what it is. But I don't feel no type of way about it. That's the philosophy that y'all said that we running with. That if you haven't been connected to it, if you're not of that descent, then you can't relate to it. So I say it goes both ways. If you black and you haven't been to Africa, don't speak on Africa. Just leave that concept alone, because we're talking about liberating Black people. That means you need to be coming up with solutions. So here's the solutions that I'm gonna bring, since nobody else brought anything of that shape, form, or fashion up, because you've never been there. As far as solutions, the first thing you got to do is you got to get you a passport. That's the first thing. If you don't have the means to get a passport, you have to get a means to make some money so that you could get you a passport. You might get it, you might not, but you got to get you a passport. Then you got to travel to Africa. If you don't know anybody in Africa, you got to figure out what the prices are, where you're going to move, how you're going to make your money, how you're going to be self-sustainable. That's what you got to do. If you're working for the white man, you got to figure out a way to get your own infrastructure, your own job. That's how it goes. That's the solution to getting up out of here. It's packing up and leaving. If you want to stay here, you got to burn this shit to the ground and start over. Or infiltrate the system. That means rubbing elbows with white folks and take it over. There's no other way to do it. And if you got a better way, please explain it. But I haven't heard anybody give no solutions as to how the hell you liberate Black people. And that's the topic of the goddamn conversation. I'm done.
Yo, let me say this, yeah. Just for the record, for anybody that doesn't realize, before CC comes in and speaks, yeah. Anyone who's been watching Black Eyes TV 7 just over the last week or so, and even up until tonight, there's been comprehensive plans, strategies for people to repatriate from here in the US, from there in the US and here in the UK. Yeah. There's been real talks, real strategies laid across the diaspora for real-time movement. So please understand, yeah, in the realms of this conversation, yeah, I'm glad Jamal took it to the point where he's taking the lead in saying what he believes is the way forward. But again, I want to hear from everyone. And if you are serious about moving and doing something, yeah, the information's there. You understand? The information is there for you to do so. You understand, in real time. But as far as this protest goes and the worldwide events that we're seeing, again, I'm still not hearing in real time how that's what's happening on the street is converting realistically into what we're talking about. That's the part I'm still waiting to hear. I'm still feeling like I'm lacking that. Because in a normal situation, there's plenty of plans that can be put forward. But I'm talking about what's good in this particular moment when we're seeing everything that's going on, and how is that converting? Yeah, me. So anyone else who wants to speak, please do.
Does Consu want to go?
Go on, CC. Your mic's
Oh, yeah.
unmuted.
When you could you kind of clear that up? I'm not quite understanding what you're saying.
Well,
When
again,
you
my
say,
brother's saying that he's offering solutions. So if you was listening to what he was saying, does anyone have a solution? But I want people to speak about the solution, including this real-time moment that we find ourselves in globally, because everyone's doing stuff on street, and we're talking about we need solutions, but I'm not hearing the connective tissue between those two situations. What's happening now and how that's gonna occur later.
yeah, you know, my personal opinion. This is only my personal opinion. We don't have a solution. We're in the midst of this. It's easy to look at things as they transpire. You know, we study our history and we can reflect on what has been done. We're in the midst of history. So you just do the best that you can to get to a point or an apex. We don't have the ability to see hindsight and foresight of what's going on. All we can do is use the resources that we have available to us and develop a system that works for us globally. And that's going to be many shades of systems. I don't think there is any one solution or myriad of solutions to this problem. I think that we're in the midst of an historical act. We're taking for granted what 300 years ago was. We're taking for granted what 70 years ago was. We did not, the modern Black mentality did not exist till 1970. We are very young in this movement. Prior to 1970, there were certain areas you could not drink from a water fountain. You could not walk in certain areas. This would not be allowed in 1965. It's only 2020. We kind of act like we've been doing this for 100 years. This movement is extremely young when you put it against the historicity of Black nationalism. So we got work to put in because we're not going to be alive to see this change. We got to leave a legacy in order for others to change with us and appreciate what we left behind. Because without our elders, we wouldn't be here. So it's kind of naive, in my personal opinion, with all due respect, to believe that we can just come up with a ready, fast solution. And the reason is because everything is microwave now. You could click a mouse and get information without even having to earn it. You can go to Google and all other kind of resources that are not necessarily the truth and have your own ideology and not have a realistic aspect of any of it. So I think that right now we're writing history. We're doing things that have never been done before, and we have to let time give us the solution.
Go on, CC. What do you have to say on the matter?
I'm just going to agree with Konsu I don't think there's any one solution. I think in terms of when we're using, I guess, the term liberation, I think it's putting small steps and measures in place to begin the process of liberation. So for me, ultimately the goal is to get to Africa. That's the ultimate goal. But it would be ridiculous to say, okay, let's all just get up and just go. I think we've already identified the fact that we're the biggest consumers. If we, instead of consuming, I guess, material items, trainers, whatever, clothes, whatever, cars, jewelry, whatever, if we took a percentage of the money that we spent on those items and invest it into some kind of pot, family pot or whatever. We used to have a thing called partners back in the day. I don't know if how many of those still exist now. You know, set up a bank account with family members, put your money in there. There are things that can be done slowly, you know, like as Konsu said, there's no quick fix. But I think if we're conscious of the things that we're doing, we're conscious of the things that we're consuming, we're conscious of the things that we're purchasing, the things that we put into our body. If we're conscious of reading, educating ourselves, these are all things that I think can be done to take steps to move forward. Being ignorant is not an excuse, or uneducated is not an excuse. There's material out there. There are various different ways to learn now, so being ignorant is no longer an excuse. So yeah, I think education, being smart with your money, attempting to save to some extent, is a start. I think even intelligent conversations with like-minded people is important. The idea of exploration, being able to, have your thoughts vocalized and sharing information with people is important. Whether it comes to any kind of solution or not, yeah, there's no quick fix or quick solution, but I think that there are things that we can do to help us along the way with that process. So yeah.
Listen, I want to say big up to Queen Diambi in the chat room. Yeah, actual African royalty, and I know, and I've spoken to her myself, and she's been talking in the chat room while people's there and people's conversing with her, and she herself has talked about the need for certain people in the grand scheme of things. Everybody has a place. So I just wanted to add that into the mix of the conversation. Obviously, she's not here to give a full explanation, but she's in the chat talking. And this is somebody, obviously, who travels the world, has to communicate with all sorts of different races, people from all sorts of walks of life, and does, politics. So again, big up to her for joining us and offering her chat over there on the side. I'm gonna wind it down because again we've been on for 3 hours. Big up to everybody that's been supporting it. It has been volatile at times, but I think through it we've definitely we've got to certain solutions. And I think even though it might not seem like we've gone far, I think the establishing fact is we need a code of conduct. We need a way of behaving amongst ourselves. And I don't mean that based on the conversation tonight. I mean that on the overall status. From us talking about what we've just literally been covering as far as knowing yourself, being able to travel, getting back there, to the other parts of how do you conduct yourself here in the diaspora with your brothers and sisters. What are you going to do right now to improve yourself, your arena, your media arena of where you are? What kind of life are you looking to lead after the fact, especially if you're not leaving? You understand? These are the next sets of questions that really everybody has to deal with and start to think about. But the overall factor that I'm getting from this conversation is we definitely need to come with a code between ourselves. So no matter whether we're having to interact, politic, or join forces between ourselves, there's definitely a code of conduct in effect. Yeah, as I said, it's 3 hours. I'm getting tired now. It's been a nice conversation when everyone's been calmer. So I just want everyone to give their final thoughts, say what you need to say just to wrap it up in conclusion. I am going to do this again. Yeah, because the problem's going to be ongoing. And again, I don't think us over here in the UK can really talk about it properly with our brothers and sisters from the US and vice versa, because it is a joint problem. So yeah, Jamal, give me your final thoughts. As somebody from New York, you've been on ground zero, you've been in amongst the thicket of it. Give us your final thoughts on what you think, where we're going, whatever you want to leave the people with.
What I want to say is, when it comes to concepts of Africa, you really got to tap in and just go with your heart. Go with divine knowledge yourself before anything, before you listen to anybody's criticism or perspective. Make sure you got a perspective of your own and that you can stand on your own square. And then invest in yourself. Before you invest in anybody else's ideology, before you invest in anybody's system on how things ought to be done, invest in yourself, invest in your family. What I will also say is make sure that whatever you're trying to do, that you're genuine in it, your heart is in it, and try to be as authentic as you can in every move that you make. As it comes back around under investigation and under microscope at the end of the day, because you're gonna reach challenges, and you're gonna end up anything that, let's put it this way, anything that is worth fighting for, anything that is great is worth fighting for. Anything that is superior, anything that you feel is worth having, you're gonna reach adversity, and you have to be finite in your approach. You have to be you have to have a focus. And I feel like right now, especially with the internet, there's a lot of fakeness going on. There's a lot of avatarness, people that just want to hide behind the keyboard, and it doesn't do anybody a service by doing so. At some point, people are going to want real answers. They're going to want real solutions. And when they come to you, you're going to have to be able to give it to them. And it's going to have to be something that's trustworthy. If you want resources, you're going to need people that actually have them, and not people that are just talking about getting resources. The time that we're in right now is a time where we're sifting through the truth versus speculation. We're sifting through piles and piles of information and intel, and we're seeing what's real and we're seeing what's not. And it's not hard to tell. You can tell by a vibration, by how somebody moving, if they standing firm on what it is that they're saying, because they seen it with their own eyes, because they actually experienced it, versus somebody who just reciting books or something that somebody taught them. So,
Yeah, damn fool.
on this battle, what I would have to say is, Brother Konsu came up with some really good points. Brother Konsu, I could tell right off the rip, from as soon as he opened his mouth, that he has been well traveled. He has been experienced in what we're talking about. If we're talking serious about African liberation, African dialect, because if somebody comes to me and tells me that they have resources, I'm going to fact check it, and I might even take them up on it. And I'll be goddamn if they gave me a resource that they never even used themselves to know if it's even real. And in this day and time, we can't even afford that. We can't afford to be bamboozled. by our own people who ain't really doing the research. I'm the type of person, if I post a picture of Africa, it ain't somebody else's picture, it's my picture. I'm the type of person, if I post an artifact, an ancient artifact, it's because I'm standing in front of the artifact to let you know I know it's real. It's not something that somebody just created. If I'm going to post some information and it's going to be a quote from somebody, I'm going to put the source of where I got it from so you could do the research on your own. I'm just not trying to be out here just bluffing and stunting, spitting and skitting. And that's all I ask in return. If you're going to sit somebody at the table with me, Rich, make sure that whatever we talking about, that they verse in what they talking about, because I won't show up to the table if I don't know nothing about it. I won't show up to the table if it's something I need to learn from. I'll say, you know what, let me sit in the chat room and ask questions. I'm not going to say that I got the answers and then get on the panel and you know, and feel that I'm being disrespected when I didn't come with what I was supposed to come with. I didn't come with my pencil. I can't get mad at the teacher and I didn't come with my pencil to do the test. I didn't come with the tools, and we asked you to be prepared. It's like, you know, that's how I feel. If you're going to bring me to the panel, you know what I'm saying? We gave y'all a nice, good sit down. We gave y'all a nice, good chat, because I think y'all probably picked up some stuff from this today, that there's some people that's really out here and they fighting for y'all. Like, for real, for real. It's not internet stuff. You know what I'm saying? They really fighting for y'all and dodging bullets and bombs, you know, like, for real, and nightsticks, okay? And to look at somebody and then try to discredit what they doing when they fighting for your liberation is the ultimate form of disrespect. So I think that we need to really rethink and calibrate what a war looks like and all the different aspects of it. The information, the tactical, the hand combat, everything. Because we talking about a real war that we in right now with black people, and we've been in it for a long time. But some of us are just now waking up. And this is why they don't have the resources. They don't have the resources because they haven't been preparing. They're just now waking up and realizing that it's really real and it's not just talk. And they should have been preparing for years. So the leaders are the ones who are prepared. The ones who know who to go to, the ones who know where to go in Africa. You can't go to every country in Africa. You can't just pick up and just go to any country. You got to know which ones to go to that are welcoming to black people, black Africans, black Americans, like African Americans. You got to know which ones to go to. And you're not going to get that from somebody that's just on Google. You're not going to get that. I'm not going to subject y'all to that, and I'm not going to let that information fly if I ever hear it. You're going to want to go with an experience of somebody who knows where you should be. Now, I'm Nigerian. I got Nigerian blood in me, 51%. And you saw the other brother making, he also has that. But I would never tell you to go to Nigeria. I would never tell you to go and live there as your first place. I would tell you to go to like Ghana or Zimbabwe, you know, areas where you're going to be all right. I wouldn't tell you to go to South Africa. I wouldn't tell you to go nowhere that they warring, you know what I'm saying? Because I know about what's going on. See what I'm saying? And that's not an ego thing. It's a fact thing. But if you don't know and you run into somebody who does, it might come off like ego. And the person who actually knows is going to be frustrated talking to you because it's like you haven't been there, but you want to sit at the table and have a conversation. So it's like, this is why the brother Consul is the last one on this square, because he gets it. He's been there. He connects with at least 50% of what I'm saying. I know that because he's been there. And other things that he doesn't connect with, he could agree to disagree because he knows where his perspective is coming from. See what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about it. That's my closing remarks. If anybody wants to go to Africa, you can inbox me. We do have resources for you. It only costs you about $2,000. If you want to travel with me, the first time we went to Africa, we brought 50 people with us. The next time we go, we're looking to take 100. We were supposed to go in July, but the COVID hit. So we're going to be going again sometime this year, hopefully December. Also, my brother Jabari Osaze is having his own trip. I have my own trips, but also Jabari is having his own trips. It's about $4,500 if you want to go with Jabari. He goes to a lot more places than I do, a lot more temples, but it does cost you more. So We do have those resources for you if you do want to go to Africa and you're serious. First things first, though, you got to get your passport, and that's a little bit of a struggle right now due to the whole, the things that's going on in America. So that's the first fight. Get that first, and then hit me up if you're trying to go to Africa.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Brother Konsu, bring us in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First, much respect to you, Brother Rich, for being consistent. I mean, as long as I've known you over the years, you've always been focused on enlightening people, your Black people, and that's much respect. I mean, you've traveled across the world, you've been in New York, and you've been the same person through it all. So I give you much respect and honor for that. To the young brother Jamar, I appreciate your fire and your core courage to speak your mind and stand on it. That's a testament to you, and I do appreciate the respect that you bestow on me, and it's likewise much honor and respect to you. And I'm a good friend of Jabari Osase. We're really good friends. We talk all the time, so it's good to know that you're around a good brother like that. My closing remarks is I'm very appreciative. I give gratitude to be able to speak my opinion, and people are choosing to listen. And I wish well for everyone. Be peaceful, be blessed. Keep your head on the swivel because things are changing, and be ready at a moment's notice to do whatever it is that you have to do. And much honor and respect to everyone out there.
All right, no doubt. Listen, all I gotta say is big up to everybody that joined us. Big up to everybody that liked, shared, and subscribed tonight. Come back for more discussions because we've just been doing shows that are directed at certain subject matters. This has been the first little panel discussion I've had in a hot second. You understand? So, big up to everyone that's joined us for that. As Brother Konsu said, we've been doing this for a hot second now. So again, there's plenty of content there that's important because it speaks directly to what we've been talking to as far as real-time planning and strategies for affecting change, whether you want to leave or whether you want to stay, because we've covered these subject matters. So go check that out, go look it up, understand what's really good, support Black media, because without it, nobody's going to know what's good on the street, in your room, in the government, what we're planning next. There has to be dialogue at some point. But as my brother Jamal said, there definitely is a time for movement. You understand? So again, if that's your position, play it hard and immobilize. If your position is to keep the homestead, then play it hard and keep it moving. If your position is to do the talking and the leadership, play it hard and deal with it correctly. And understand, as I said on the show that we did earlier, as Black people, we are the first resource. Yeah, we can talk about all these other bargaining chips, but you yourself are the first resource. So understand that. Take care of yourselves. You understand? Think before you do shit. You understand? Think about your people before you do shit. Is it going to benefit you? And again, if you really want to affect change, if you really want to see something different in this diaspora, understand that's not going to be an easy fix. It's not going to be an easy fix. And some of us are going to have to die to affect that change. And I think this is the problem. You understand? And again, I want to say this. I asked my brother Jamal to invite our sister Segment on. And what made me do it is because I saw a video that she did, an old school video where she's talking about war. And she's talking about the fact that most of the time we don't want to hear about the war because it encroaches on our comfortable situation. And one thing I will say about us in the diaspora, especially in the Americas and in the UK and across certain parts of Europe, we have it comfortable. And we have done for a hot minute. And in order to affect certain change, it's going to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to give up some of your immunities. You're going to have to understand that to really put the pressure on is a whole different thing. Even this talking thing on the internet, it's a whole different shout when you're under wartime conditions. Because right here, this is sedition. This is a charge already, what we're doing. Yeah, they can burst in right now and decide to shut down this stream. So whatever your position is, play it hard and understand there's real-time consequences. And if this is the time for black people to initiate change, then let's move accordingly and move on code, which first and foremost looks like moving together. Yeah, so big up to my people for watching. It's been a long one, but it's been a good one. We'll be back. Yeah. Peace and love to my people.
Peace.